Daddy.
Yes, my love.
I think without your beard, you just look like one of those like melty, chocolatey, shiny lint balls.
Lint ball. I look like a lint ball.
Yeah.
So, do you like my beard?
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, you just look like chocolate. A shiny.
Chocolate ball.
Yeah.
You think that's quite funny, little one, yeah?
Yep.
You think the same thing?
No,
What do
I
you-
think without your beard, you look like a bowling ball.
Yeah, when you die, I'm going to screw holes in your head and then I'll use it as a bowling.
Thanks, guys.
To put our fingers up your nose and thumbs in your mouth to make the 3 holes.
That's the 3 holes in the bowling ball.
Yep.
My head is so round and so polished, I'm a bowling ball.
Yep.
Yeah, if you just shave off the beard and
And chop your head off.
and get mum's get rid of the hair thing, so you can cut it, but then you get her thing,
And then you
it
shave your
and
hair
it
off.
burns the bottom of your hair, so your hair can't grow anymore.
And then you can also shave your hair, all your little bits of hair and your beard off. Then paint your head red. Then sew up your eyeballs. Then shave off your eyebrows. Then chop your hair off. Then sew your head together. Then make your mouth always open. Then cut your teeth off. Then your head will be a bowling ball.
Amazing. I always wanted to end up being a bowling ball
Now
once I died.
Now can we talk about World Book Day?
You want to talk about World
Yes.
Book Day? Yeah.
And I dressed up as Poseidon.
You dressed up as Poseidon?
Yep.
Who's Poseidon?
The god of the ocean.
God of the ocean. Do you like the God of the ocean?
Yeah.
Why is he cool?
Because he's a god.
I think he's boring.
What?
I prefer some
Zeus?
more interesting things.
So you prefer Zeus?
No, Zeus is boring.
You know, Poseidon had lots of girlfriends.
Yeah, and I don't want
And
to
Zeus
dress
had
up as
even
God.
more Zeus.
Okay, tell me who.
And I don't want to dress up as a god because gods, they can marry somebody
Yeah.
and then they can
Make
go
babies.
off, make babies with someone else, and it's just weird.
They were really naughty, weren't they?
Yeah,
And they keep on cheating on people.
They're not very faithful, are they? You think gods would be setting a good example, but the gods of the Greek
Yeah,
times,
they just cheat on their husbands and wives.
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's I marry
And it's
you.
pretty
Like-
weird.
And they'll do this. Oh, you look pretty. I'm going to marry you. And then they go, ooh, you look pretty. I'm going to make babies with you. And they go, ooh, you look even more pretty. I'm going to divorce with you and marry you.
What's wrong with that? Is that a bad thing?
Yeah,
But
terrible.
but then apparently, the gods they'd marry somebody, go behind their back, cheat on them, marry someone else,
I think
cheat on their girlfriend.
that's the big thing, isn't it? It's about being unfaithful and not having loyalty. It's
Yeah, because
not
the
nice,
God-
is it?
If you marry a god, one of the Greek gods, you can never, ever, ever, ever trust them.
Yeah.
Never.
Well, baby, can I ask you a favor? Don't ever marry a Greek god or have a relationship.
Babies with you.
What about
What if they marry you and then make babies, then leave you?
You're really obsessed about the baby making, aren't you?
What will you do?
Well, you just don't make babies with the gods. Anyway,
I just tell the gods to get out.
yeah,
Get out of
exactly.
my house.
Get out of my house.
I'll just go upstairs and get a gun, because I will get a gun.
You're gonna get a gun.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
I go shooting.
oh, right, okay.
Okay, but I will get a gun and tell them to get outside.
Up there you go. Get a shotgun and you tell the.
Actually, no. I just told them to get outside.
All right, okay. Yeah. Okay. What about you?
I didn't want to go as anybody because I find it
And
Wait, don't interrupt your
Really?
sister. Your sister's talking.
difficult, really difficult to do something. So I just went as mufti.
Oh, well, that's all right, my love.
And I think that World Book Day is a good thing because people that always are that are like this, video games, Minecraft. like they don't really read books are really, really, really important to you. Like they give you more imagination. They can help you learn new words. Like it'll
improve your vocabulary for sure.
If it says like onomatopoeia in a book and you don't know what that is, and like it says in the book, and if it says onomatopoeia is like words that mean the same thing, like crack, boom, like things that you can hear. And if you didn't know that, it will let you like learn more and more.
So tell me something. Are most kids in your class, are they reading or do they play computer games? Are they in front of their iPads? What do they do?
Computer games.
Most people are like computer games because if I do...
One second, I'll come to you in a second.
If I do a vote for the entire like school and there's like 250 people, if I did a vote and go to each classroom and say who likes books more than video games, people on video game side,
I'll say books.
There'll be something like 225. And on the other side, there'd be something like 250. Is that correct maths? So 150. Is that
how many people are in your school?
So 15.
How many people?
There's I can't do precise, but like something like 250.
So if on the computer game side there's 225, that only leaves 25 people on the book side. Is that roughly what it would be like?
Yeah, because people will be like, oh, like in World Book Day, someone's dressing up. So there's a book like about Minecraft.
Wait, 1 second.
There's like a book about Minecraft. And like someone came in Minecraft clothes and they're like, Minecraft, I'm Minecraft.
Yeah, exactly. That's not really a book. I saw a lot of kids as well dressed up as football players.
Yeah, lots of kids were dressed up as Minecraft. Look, a kid in my school was also dressed up as Minecraft.
Can I ask you something, little boy? Like the kids in your class, do a lot of them play computer games?
Yeah.
How old are they?
Like 6 or 5.
5 or 6, and most of them are playing computer games. You don't play very many computer games, do you?
No. We only play the older, like the not really addictive ones. Like we do we do once every 3 months.
Yeah, I was gonna say we only get at the Nintendo like every 3-4 months or something.
Yeah.
You don't even play it that much. You play it for one day and then
we play like Boulder Bash and things like that, like 3 times.
It's a fun game which I really
like those games are from the 1990s. Then they go doo 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 doo.
And I also really like one game, Miss Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong's pretty cool.
And it's also gotten up to a place when it was a rainforest and armadillos. Actually, you could not get past armadillos, which it was easy to get past a little faster. It was easy.
But it's a shame. I think that a lot of people don't read. You're reading a book right now, aren't you?
Yes.
And I am.
At school, there's a book called Matilda, and most people should know it, but I'm like sort of started to read the Roald Dahl books because I've once read few, and like I was just experimenting with like random books. Because at school you need to have a table book.
You've also read Small Flame.
Yes, Small Flames. I think I finished all of them except from 1.5.
And what about the Percy Jackson books?
I haven't read it because
I have.
Like if I
it's really
read,
good, but you started with the 6th one instead of the first one, 6th one.
Okay.
So boo-hoo, rude.
Okay. So you're saying?
So you're really rude.
Okay, little one.
And some that I don't know.
Okay, baby boy.
There's lots of words that I don't know. So boo-hoo.
Okay.
And also Percy Jackson and Greek gods.
Yep. Okay.
Just up as Poseidon from the book Percy Jackson and Greek gods.
Right, are you done now?
Yep.
Right, enough now, baby boy.
Oh.
Go play with your trident. Right.
No, I'm still in podcast.
Okay, just quiet though.
Okay.
I forgot what I was saying because he interrupted.
I think you were talking about your Percy Jackson books.
Yeah. So if I like read like about 1 or 2 chapters, like and because of Percy Jackson, the first one, the chapters are about something like 30 pages, quite long. So if I read like about 2, I'm like, I don't like this. It's not my style. I won't read it. I did that with the first one and a bit of the second one. So just like, I don't.
Do you know,
Don't
I
like it.
found sometimes some books are really sticky. They take a lot of hard work. And some books, the moment you read the first page, you're gripped, you're hooked, and you just want to keep reading. Some books I found that I almost need to read a third of the book before I get into it. And it's, I would say that, like, don't give up straight away. Sometimes you really need to stick at something, and then suddenly you get really engaged and you're like, wow, this is amazing. It's like a slow burner. Like, it just takes time to slowly get there. Do you know what I mean? But-
Yeah, but like I like funny books, silly books, and fiction books.
Are you describing yourself or the book?
The book. I like things like that because I'm quite silly, and blah blah blah, etc. etc.
And cheeky.
etc. etc.
Sometimes a bit rude.
rude, etc. etc.
Sometimes a bit naughty.
Yeah.
But it's all right. It's good to be cheeky. Right, listen. I think our food. Yeah, the timer's gone off. I need to get the food going. Listen, is there any last thing you want to say? Do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye bye.
And I'd really like if you would subscribe to my dad's podcast.
Yes, please do that. It would be very helpful.
Oh, guys, I love that. I love it. I didn't ask you to say that. That's really nice of you to say that.
Okay, hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Bye bye. In today's podcast name was The Book Podcast.
Yes, it was the book podcast.
And
Great.
I'd also put this in a book.
Will do. All right, folks. Right, enjoy the podcast, everybody. Thanks.
You are listening to the Doc Malik podcast. This show is 100% independent and fully funded by listeners like yourself. So, if you wish to support Ahmed in all that he is doing, then please subscribe to his channel on Spotify or his Substack. Or simply buy him a coffee with a one-off donation, links to which can be found at docmalik.com. Now, let's get on with the show.
You said the question was going to be what?
No, the question is going to be, I'm a pilot, so I'm used to having a mic right up against my mouth,
Oh, nice.
but it's connected to my headset. So it's quite intriguing that no one's come up with a high quality mic you can use for this sort of thing, which is connected to the headset, because it would mean that even your most crazy guests could articulate and jump up and down and move around, and the sound quality would be perfect.
Well, I think there are some mics with the, little thing.
Yeah, but they're usually rubbish.
They are rubbish. And you've heard me talk about how important audio is, haven't you? I mean, I've really gone on about it. Audio, consistency, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Anyway, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good. I like your hat, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I got it off this website which sold merchandise.
What website was that?
I think it was yours.
DocMalik.com.
DocMalik.com.
So you've got a red cap that says uncaptured on it. You should have been wearing it in the telling everybody.
It's marketing so obvious. Normally I'd have my flat cap.
But why'd you pick uncaptured? Of all the things you could have done, do not comply. Why did you pick the uncaptured?
Well, because I think the uncaptured is basically me. I've never been good at fitting into rules and really silly things which we're asked to do. And I always assume that if there are rules, they're for someone else and not for me. So it's always worked for me. So that's a good trick.
I'm the same. I don't like rules. I like to break rules. I tell my kids
I
this.
don't break them. They just don't apply to me. No one wrote them for me. They're for other people.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never broken a rule in my life.
I like that. I'm going to change what I'm saying now. I've never broken a rule. They just don't apply to me.
To you, exactly. You've got to reframe it. If you think you're breaking a rule, then maybe you're doing something bad or you're not going along with what you're supposed to. But the reality, of course, is it's for other people, not you. So it's a big deal.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, I know you now because you're a yellow board person. You're out there on the roundabout.
That's where we met.
Yep. And you're part of the Awake community. You're a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist.
Yep.
Right? You're a fan of my show. Is that saying too much?
No, that's true. I am a fan of your show. I'm a fan of your show. Yeah.
But tell me, you've got experience in business and leadership and getting people to be successful.
Yeah.
I really wanted to tap into that brain of yours and try and share that with my audience. And also, I did invite you and you said no.
I did.
And then you said yes. So what changed?
Time, really. It's really time. So I think when we first talked about me coming on the show was in the early days. And
I wasn't big enough.
No. It's more complex than that. So I'll just give you a bit of my background.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm a bit unusual, and that will come out in the talk. So I was born in a place called Ghana. I was just a kid, and then everyone called me Eddie, and then I was sent to a British boarding school, British public school, and overnight I became Black Who Knew. So my dad died when I was 4 months old. I was brought up by my mom. My mom was a scientist, and this is where it gets interesting. My mom worked for the United Nations, so she worked for UNEP. So when I'm looking at the world, I have a very peculiar view because I've looked at it from that perspective. My sister was chief of staff for the World Bank. I lived in Kenya.
Wow.
I've lived in many different countries. So I have a broader view probably than most people would have. Plus, then I went off and did engineering. So I've got like this engineering mindset where I sort of take things apart. And then I've gone and studied business. I did an MBA at City Business School, now CAS. So I know about business, and I've got all sorts of different points of view around that. But my engineering was biochemical engineering. So we were growing bugs, we were making foods. It's all about living stuff.
Making food from bugs?
Well, that's what
Sounds very,
Klaus wants us to
I was going to say, that's very Klaus Schwab-y.
But yeah, but it means that when I look at something like the process of, recombinant DNA, when I was doing my PhD, there were people in the lab working on that 30, 40 years ago. So I've got all these different bits, which all come together in terms of when I try and answer stuff about business, which is unlike most people who talk about business, I'm looking at the broad spectrum, the human being, where they come from, how they connect together, how that fits into society, what that means you can do in terms of your own life. So I'm probably not just going to talk about leadership and stuff. I'm going to talk about how you actually make your life work alongside the business. Is that okay?
Listen, I get told I talk too much.
I do.
I get told I talk too much on my show, and you're meant to have your guests speak more. So you know what? I'm just going to shut up.
No.
I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah, it's not true. It's not true. I mean, because you can't talk too much because it's a conversation. So.
See, that's the thing. This is why I keep trying to tell people I'm not doing an interview. I'm doing a conversation. And you know the number of people sit in that chair at the end, they take off their headphones and go, "Oh, that's the best chat I've had. I think that's the best chat I've ever given." And I'm like, thanks.
Well done.
And it's because, you know what, it was a conversation and I'm getting stuff out of them. But even they say to me, "Oh, you know what, I'm so glad you spoke, because you know what, it gets so boring for me. Just saying the same thing. You make me think about things in a different way. You get things out of me that I never thought of before." I'm like, oh, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, one of the headaches is that people have their statements they make, and then they, in an interview or in a presentation, they just make the same statements again. And they've probably used the same statement for 5-10 years. And they've not thought about it in the interim period.
Yes.
So when you ask a question, when it's a conversation, they have to reformulate it and reframe it and think about it anew. And as I was saying, the world changes. And when the world changes, answers change. Reality doesn't, but answers change.
Great. I'm still going to keep my mouth shut. Keep talking.
No. I'm going on silent strike.
The pressure's on, Buster. Get on with it and talk.
Okay. Start. Actually, it's quite funny because I speak for a living because I teach and I do keynotes and things like that. So talking isn't a challenge, but I need to know the subject. I need to know what I'm supposed to be talking about. So if you said, "Eddie, tell us about this," I could witter on forever. But But that's doing a show as opposed to a conversation chat.
Okay. So what? Some of the things that I'd like to talk about. I think it's really important to give things to people.
Yes.
So share your wisdom about what it means to have a successful business, and what are the things that you've learned through your life and through helping others and other businesses that can help a young business person now today create, because I think we need that in this climate where the globalists are creating massive megalithic, monolithic, big structures that are monopolies and hoovering up. We need successful small businesses, because this is how we fight back.
Right? Absolutely.
So how can you be a successful young business? What are the tips and tricks? I'd like to know. Yeah, what do you think about the whole color race thing? I think that's brilliant. When you said when you came here, that's when you realized you were black.
Just ridiculous.
Next,
Just ridiculous.
Let's talk about the state of the world today. That why are you out there with your yellow boards? Why do you feel the way you do? And stuff like that. And, some of the more contemporary politics, what do you think of Trump and reform and all that kind of stuff?
Okay, sure.
So, let's start there.
Just talking about business first, because you're absolutely right. I mean, the stuff they don't teach you at school, so you can never really understand how businesses work.
Exactly.
So I'll weave some of that stuff in. But the first thing which I'll say is that often people will come to me, especially when they're leaving corporates or whenever they want to start doing something of their own. They'll come to me and they'll say, Eddie, I'd like to work for myself. And I go, that's not a good idea. And they think I'm sort of saying they shouldn't work for themselves. They say, I'd like to work for myself. Why wouldn't I work? I said, it's always more profitable to work for someone else. And that's a real truism, because people always imagine they're working for themselves. But in reality, you're working for your customers, your clients, your customer, the people who are consuming what you do. Why is that crucial? Because if they love what you do, then they give you money. And that money is like a little store of magical things, which means that you can go off and either do more of what you're doing or actually feed the cat. So working for someone else is always the best trick. And the best way to work for someone else is to do something they need, want, or will enjoy. And that's what the basis of business is.
Really? I don't want to work for someone else.
No, I don't want to work for your customers. You're working for your listeners.
I'm working for my listeners.
You're working for your listeners.
That's true.
Of course you are.
And I've never worked so hard.
And the reason you want a good podcast is so that your listeners will keep listening because they enjoy it and won't sort of take their headphones off when they're running and go, I can't stand it. You're working your backside off for your listeners.
I am.
You're working for, and that's what makes the world work. The reality is, everything good in the world comes from people serving each other. And that's why I love business so much. Everyone thinks it's about greed and capitalism and this. That's because they don't teach you properly at school. It's a very simple process. So just roll back in time. Let's pretend we're sort of pre-industrial age. And I don't know, you're a potato farmer, okay? Potatoes okay with you? And I'm a hole digger, so I dig holes, okay? And we're all trying to farm, but I'm bloody good at hole digging. And a few potatoes, and a few of my potatoes come to fruition and don't just rot. Whereas your potatoes, once you got them in the ground, superb. So what do? I say, I'll dig your holes, you grow all the potatoes. Deal? That's barter, okay? So I dig the holes, you grow the potatoes, I eat the potatoes. But then they're out of sync, digging holes and growing potatoes. So when you give me the potatoes, you say, can you scribble down here that you'll dig my holes for me next March? And that's the start of money.
That's the start of money.
So money then becomes like a store of promises. Now, why is money important? Because again, stuff they don't teach you at school. The goal is not to make money. The goal is to serve other people. The goal is to serve other people, because if you serve other people and you do a great job, guess what? They let you have what you want. So it always starts from individuals.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just take it that, okay, you've given me this piece of paper, this bit of money. Now, everyone gets confused about money once they think the goal is money. But money, it does the weirdest thing. Imagine we've done a bit of potato farming and now I've got 10 quid. Okay. Got 10 quid. Got 10 quid. Okay. I'm very pleased because I can get more potatoes, but I can get other stuff. So what happens is I look at my 10 quid, which I dug all those holes for, and I go, I don't like this 10 quid. I want to have, what's your phone? an iPhone Max or whatever. I don't do technology. Actually, I do, but I don't do iPhones. I want to have an iPhone Max. So I look at my 10 quid and I go, this is a disgusting 10 quid. I want the iPhone Max. You're selling me the iPhone Max. What do? You look at the iPhone Max and say, I've never seen such a horrible iPhone Max in my life. I'd much rather have 10 quid. And so we exchange. So you're happy, I'm happy. We've served each other. So which one of us was right? The one who got the money or the one who kept the money? Or you see, it all relies on a sort of misunderstanding and a personal focus. You wanted the 10 quid. I wanted the iPhone. We're both correct. We serve each other. So whether you're doing your potato farming and digging holes, whether you're working in any transactional mode, we serve each other. The goal is not to make money, as in to hold on to. The goal is to serve people and then they give you the money. Does that make sense?
100%. So I'll give an example. Remember when I gave the spiel to you, the one that I give everyone, I talked about the importance of good audio.
Yeah.
And I talked about, look, people are listening. They're in their car. They're listening, doing their chores. They're listening while they're running. I want to give them a good product. I don't want them something that they're going to get annoyed and irritated about and then switch off. I want them to enjoy it. And what's the point of doing all this and no one listens to it?
Correct.
You want as many people to enjoy this. Yeah. You want to have as many people happy. I want like this, a message I got today. I can show you on my screen. 8:19. She goes, hello. I subscribed to your podcast today. I fixed it. Thank you. Absolutely loved your interview with Meredith. Conversation. Her work kept me sane during the darkest years of my life in 2020 when I fully woke up. Okay. And then she goes, I'd love to know, about why it is you work as hard as you do. And, thank you for all that you're doing with your podcast and giving people a voice.
Perfect.
Does that make me...
Serving them. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Beautiful. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
And I get several of these every day.
Brilliant.
Emails like this. And that, you know what? That makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile.
Correct.
I'm helping people. Now, the thing is, the return for the labor is hard. It's not the same as being an orthopedic surgeon.
No, that's probably right. I mean,
so I'll give an example.
You set a high bar there.
Yeah. So I'll give an example. I sent a post to my friend Alex, who I did a podcast with recently. And, I sent him a screenshot of my Instagram post where I have made a short clip of him. It's like 40 seconds talking about the nonsense in this world. Put some nice music on it.
Yeah.
Guess what? It's been viewed more than 250,000 times.
Bravo.
That's
very good.
Huge.
That's huge.
Right?
That's serious.
And then he goes, I hope it'll get you more subscribers. Right? And then I send him a screenshot on my Substack for that episode. And I'll show it to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
I got 7 free subscribers, not 1 paid.
Yeah.
So 250,000 views.
Yeah.
I got 7 free subscribers. And then he goes, that's terrible. I guess it shows that people want sound bites only. Disappointing. And I was like, And then he goes, 7 free subscribers after 250,000 views. Wow, isn't that amazing? This is how they build empty parties like Reform just on anti-foreigner sound bites. Never mind what these guys actually do. And then he does a face palm. And I think what Alex is trying to say is, you create all this great, wonderful content and most people will never actually appreciate it or be exposed to it because most people, their attention span is so short, so tiny. They want that quick little soundbite and go, oh yeah, that's great. But they don't want to do any hard work. They don't want to put any effort into it. They just want to consume.
Yeah.
And that's how the evil people, know how to manipulate the masses.
Absolutely.
They put little token politicians out, little empty parties, and people don't look into their past or their conduct. Like the fact that Nigel Farage, in the height of the pandemic, goes, we need to get Tony Blair out and make him the vaccine czar. What? You want a politician from another party that you apparently hate to come out and promote the vaccines? What the hell? And Tice was talking about how you need mandates. And now they're the flavor of the month because they're anti-immigration, and everyone's like, they're leading the poll, the next prime minister. And it's like, guys, aren't you looking? Anyway, there's a lot of... So yeah.
That was a little rant from you.
Where do we go from there?
So just go back to this thing about setting up a business.
Yeah, business.
I'll circle back to this. So what you described with the subscribers versus the views is really important. So the first thing is, it's all about serving people. Then the next part is, so who should I serve? Because you're thinking about business. So if you're thinking about business, you want people who are you're serving to value what you want so much that they give you the £10. Okay. Now, the bad news is not everyone behaves the same way.
No.
So in business speak, you'd call that segmenting your market. Okay. So you go, well, there's some people who just listen to sound bites. I'll never get any money off them, but they might be a gateway because they might introduce me to someone else. There's some people who really want to understand what's going on because they're writing books and stuff. They'd probably pay a lot of money because it's useful for them because they're getting their books. I don't know what it is. But you segment your market. You look very closely at what people actually need. And usually you do some sums. How many people? Where would they be? When would they happen? And that lets you figure out whether there's actually a business to be had as an ongoing business. So sometimes you've got what you think you want to give them, but actually you have to do what they want as opposed to what you want to do.
Yeah.
That's why working for yourself is never a good idea. And the way I explain it to people is I say, don't get too distressed because, like have you had Christmas presents? Presents? Okay. So you get £100 worth of Christmas presents. Let's say you get 10 presents, 100 quid. Okay. They've spent 100 quid on presents for you. Do you like them all?
No.
Do you use them all?
No.
How many?
Half, if I'm lucky.
Half. So basically, for £100 spend, you get 50 quid's worth of value. Okay? And that's because they were doing what they thought.
By the way, I just want to say, I'm not criticizing my mother-in-law's choice of presents. Or my father-in-law. Like, I love that mug that you gave me. The really disgusting, ugly one. I use it every single day.
Sure you do. Sure you do. But you see, the point is, you have to actually find out what the person actually needs, as opposed to guessing at it and getting them something which you want or something which is interesting or trendy. And so when you're starting a business, that is so crucial to really understand you're there to serve other people, to find out what they want, which may overlap with what you're good at, may overlap with what you want to do, but won't necessarily be exactly the same. And then you have to figure out which of those people you actually want to connect with.
So what I want to do, I think, is I want to give people the truth. I want to give people a community. I want to give them the confidence to know they're not crazy.
Yeah.
And that they're not out there on their own. I want them to realize that they're right and that they're brave and they're good. And yeah, that's what I want to give.
So of the people who are listening to you, there'll be a subset to whom that's real value. As in, they really, really like it so much that they will be so happy to part with the money they got from digging the potato holes.
Yeah.
It won't be all of them.
No.
So the question is, which ones are they? What specifically do they want? How do you make the community work for them? So often what you do early on is you try to see whether you can find one or two people who seem quite keen and might actually sort of want to part with large amounts of money. And if you can, you go and spend time with them. You watch them, you listen to them, you see what else they do. And that allows you to get an insight into what really makes them move. So in your space, I suspect there might be some people who are, for example, not running local groups. And so to be able to have one of your podcasts to share with the local group, that's worth it to them because the people are coming to, I don't know, a town hall or something like that. They're all buying cups of coffee. They sit around, they listen to that, then they discuss afterwards. So by the time these people have met, there's a pot of, 20 quid extra. So to pay for your podcast is well worth it for them. So that would be one of your segments you might go after. But the ones who are sort of just vaguely interested, the ones you were describing who don't live on the sound bites, they're probably never going to pay you. But they can be a useful gateway in triangulation. Because people will say things like, have you heard of Doc Malik? And if they say no, then a lot of people just go, oh, obviously not fashionable. I don't dare go there. But if you say, yeah, I heard of him, then they'll go, yeah. And then they'll go on and buy your product. So sometimes other people who would never buy actually allow your business to grow and thrive. So we call those promoters. So the way I would describe it is the promoters are listening and saying, you're great, and they'll mention it. So if you give them something remarkable each time, something remarkable being something they can remark on, they'll go to their dinner parties and they'll do your promotion for you. And at that dinner party, there might be somebody running a local town hall. And that's what you're hoping for from those guys. You'll never get any money out of them. Once you've understood what people need, then you can start to create your business offer, and then you can figure out how you're going to bring it to market.
All right. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like, I've got elephant meat and everybody wants beef.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how good my elephant meat is. I'm not going to be able to sell it.
It's going to stink. It's all going to rot. Stop killing the elephants. That's what I say. Stop killing the elephants.
Everybody just wants alligator meat. So alligator's all the thing. All right, so fine. So then how'd you market it then?
Okay.
You've discovered
what you need to know what people want.
Right. So you've discovered what people want.
Okay.
You found a niche.
Correct.
Right. And you're good at it. And then you're going to give it to them. Then what you do?
It's a step before that.
Oh,
you need to know it's going to make money and keep making money.
All right.
So I use a tool called a gap leap. I'll explain it. But basically, the business speak would be, you need a business case, or you need, they say all these, very simple. You just go, there is a gap. The gap is people who want nice podcasts for their town halls can't get them easily on demand 2 weeks before everyone else. That's your gap. Okay? And then you say, well, what happens if it's not fixed? At least for these people, they'll continue to struggle, blah, blah, blah. What happens if I could fix it? They'll have a nice podcast. They'll come back and buy some more. Why haven't I done it yet? Because I haven't found these people, because I haven't got the podcast for them, because I don't know what topics I should focus on, because there's no recording equipment. You'll end up with a list of why not fixed yet. So it's if fixed, if not fixed, and why not fixed yet. And that scope of why not fixed yet is everything you'll need to do to set up your business. And so then you can put a cost to it. And you can see how much money comes in if you fix it. And so now you know whether the machine will keep rolling over. Because if the cost of putting it on and running it is more than what comes in, then eventually you'll run out of steam.
Yeah.
And so once you've done that, one of the things in the bottom would be, I don't know how to reach these people. Now we start thinking about, how do I reach them? How do I market to them? Do I join someone else? Do I pick up a phone book? Do I walk down the street knocking on every other door?
So when you talk about the fixed cost, can I just check? So
not so much fixed cost, but the cost of setting the thing up and running it.
Exactly. So for example, the amount of money that I put to set this up is now the cost that it takes to run it is a lot less.
Yes, exactly.
I had to build this studio literally because look, you've seen my house. There's nowhere in my house I can do it.
Yeah. You know where the place where the cats? No. No. So, Cameron, like you were remarking when you first came in, you're like, wow. It is cool. Nice table as well.
Nice table, right? Because to me, the sign, the thing is, I wanted people to come, the guests, and to feel that, you know what, I'm taking this seriously.
Yeah.
This is, a high value production. And again, it was about delivering a product that sounds good, that looks good.
Exactly.
I don't want to sound like, I'm talking from my mama's basement.
Yeah. Exactly. And also once you've got the fixed costs, then you've got to get that back. So you need to know that. If I was starting a business, I'd go fixed costs, I'll try and get it back over 3 years. Something like that.
Yeah, it's going to take
5
that long
years,
for me.
whatever, 3 years. Okay, so then I take it divided by 3 years. So I know how much I have to make each month. I know how much it costs to run, add the two numbers up. That's the minimum, which has to be the opposite of what comes in. And then I'm square. But you don't want to be square, because if you're square, it just means you're working flat out and you don't get any extra £10 to buy your potatoes. Your all gets eaten up.
Yeah, you're working flat out to stay still.
Correct.
You want to be moving forward.
Exactly. You want to be moving forward.
So what's the next step?
So once you've got that and the business case is worked out, then the next step is you start actually trying to execute. Now, what will happen is you'll get one or two early customers. And once you start getting them, listen to them. You know, when people say, I want to start well for myself, they go, I believe in this. I want to find people. No, listen to them because they will hone for you what you're trying to do. So when I started Pentacle in Beaconsfield, the idea was very simple. I was at a proper business school, a place called Ashridge Business School. And I quit because they were traditional and boring. And I wanted to do technology and really flex on learning and applying. So people didn't just learn stuff, but they had to go away and do it. And I picked up this client. It was a company called William Mercer Fraser. And there was a chap called Ian Farman. And he came and he wanted me to do some project development training for them. And he was quite precise with what he wanted. And I thought, I'm just going to follow him. I'm just going to do whatever he says. So everything he asked me, I would do. And we were fitting up the offices for the course. And the rule I used with all the people we were working with was, I said, well, what would Ian Farman want? Well, he'd want to be able to have a cup of tea up here. Yeah, so we're going to put the tea up here. He'd want the tables to be big enough, but not have people facing each other. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make 5-sided tables. So I literally used him the term as a persona to make all my decisions. Instead of me making the decisions, I used the early customers to make my decisions, which meant when other people like him came along, everything I was doing, remember it's about service, matched what they wanted. Because I'd used a real person, not my invention of what I wanted to do. And that again is a really crucial thing because that's the next step because suddenly you realize, yes, okay, now I've got people coming through who can do it. And then what happens with most people is they go into what I'll call fake business. So there's a story from a chap called Jeff Birch about going to an office of somebody who'd started up and he had his desk and he had a coat stand, hat stand, whatever they call it. And so Jeff says to the guy, have you got any business? The guy says, no. And then he sort of rattles the coat stand. He says, what's this about? He says, well, I want it to look like it was a proper office. So that's the fake bit, which people start doing. They'll either buy things which don't help the customer, don't help them, or they'll start recruiting people. So they'll go, well, I'm a business now. I should recruit 10 people. Okay. And so they do that. They go and borrow money.
Oh, you mean like all the people that are working in my studio?
Yeah, like all the people in your studio, all like 46 of them. Yeah.
The lighting, the lighting.
Yeah, they do all that because they think that makes it a proper business. But all that does is push your running costs up.
Yeah, I'm a one-man band.
But it doesn't matter.
Do you know?
It's not about the number of people. It's about service and whether or not the machine can continue to turn.
Do you know, I know someone who is doing a podcast and it's costing a lot per episode. Like a lot. Like we're talking about a lot. Several hundreds, if not thousands of pounds per episode. They can't afford it anymore.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, but that's because you got like 2-3 people doing stuff for you.
Correct.
Just turning on the camera or uploading it on
properly.
Or uploading it on the computer or doing a little bit of artwork that takes not very long. You know, and you were asking me, oh, you've done about 100 episodes. Dude, I'm at 296 published episodes now.
I hope I'm going to be 300. No, damn.
So basically, you know, I've done a lot.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine if I spent £1,000 per episode, that's on the low end of what this person is spending.
Exactly.
That's £296,000. Do you think I've made £296,000 doing a podcast?
No.
Yeah, right, dude. Whatever. I wish.
Yeah.
Look, I would be in serious, deep shiitake mushrooms if I was.
Do that because they think that's what you're supposed to do. And the rule is always keep the constraint. Going too fast. So what you want to do is you don't want to
fake business.
Don't make a fake business. It's not smart.
What other examples are there of making your business fake? Apart from having lots of people that you don't need.
We buy biltong, okay? Because meat's good, okay?
Where'd you get it from?
The farm. No, the farmer's market in Beaconsfield every month, okay? And the guy who used to go around there and he'd come and drop stuff off, he suddenly decided he needed a shop and somewhere to etc. And I spent ages trying to dissuade him. I said, no, your stuff's good. We like it. We like it. We like the price. We like the fact you deliver it to our front door, it'll be more stable if I've got a bigger, and you have the dream. And everyone has this dream of this big business, this big factory, thousands of people. It will come, but it comes after success, not before. If you do it before, then you are back you talked about the globalists. So what used to happen was somebody would have an idea, they'd build their business, they'd find their customers, they'd grow as a family, they'd grow then they'd hire somebody, then they'd grow a bit more. Okay, so that's what used to happen. It would take 5-10 years to build a decent business. It would be embedded in the society. People would love them. Then Silicon Valley came along and they went, you know those gardening programs where you can get an instant garden?
No.
Titchmarsh, where they come in, they go, ground force. Well, you probably don't know. But they come into your garden and they go, right, we're going to rebuild this garden. And they dig in and put in plants and everything else and do it all like in a weekend while your other half is away.
But it's fake.
That's what Silicon Valley focuses on. Basically, they give you money, all the angel investors, they give you a wad of money. Then you go out and get this overnight garden. And then you go to market and then they're hoping you'll get enough customers or enough traction before the angel investors stop giving you money. And they call them rounds. So they have round 1 funding, round 2 funding, round 3 funding. Most of them don't make it. Some of them do. They only make it if they can get to a monopoly status, because generally there's no real customers trying to move forward. But all these AI startups, they're all of that format. Somebody comes along, gives them a hell of a lot of money. They go out and buy tons and tons of NVIDIA chips, and then bang, they get a few graduates and they're away.
Are they hoping that they're going to get the next big blockbuster?
Correct.
And they'll throw enough money around.
Yes.
It's almost like the lottery. Buy enough lottery or raffle tickets.
Yes.
And then hopefully one of them will hit.
Yeah, that's what an angel investor basically does. That's the whole game. That's the whole game. You invest in companies, invest in lots and lots and lots of startups. The startup entrepreneurs, they want to be rich and famous instantly.
So they'll have the flash car.
So they offer to do it, and then they give away. It's like, what's the film with the dragons? Dragon's Den. Same sort of thing. So if they're giving you advice, one thing. But if they're giving you money so you can go faster, different thing altogether. But that's what Silicon Valley is. And it's billions and billions and billions go into that. And that's why entrepreneurism has more or less stopped. Because anyone who's an entrepreneur rushes off for the ground force solution of, I'll get some money and have it today. And then if they're lucky, it runs for long enough and they walk away with some of the money, then they do it again. But they're not building anything.
So for example, if someone offered to give me money to invest in my business,
yes,
I've thought about this, and I would say no, I don't want that. I'll tell you why. Well, I'll tell you why.
Yeah, please.
I've built the infrastructure. I've got all the equipment. I've learned how to do everything myself. I don't think I want anyone as an assistant to do anything for me at this stage, because I'm kind of self-sufficient. And just to teach them and get them to do it properly will just take so much of my time in the first place. And, will I recoup the money from increased revenue or subscriptions? I don't think so. Yeah. So this upfront investment, what is it going to do? Will I pay for ads on social media? No. Am I going to pay anyone to do anything? No. So to be honest, I don't really need any investment to grow my business the way I look at it. I don't see it's going to help me in any way. Yeah,
because you're thinking about it from your point of view and growing it.
So, I want to grow. I want to grow the number of listeners.
Yeah.
I don't see how having more money is going to do that.
Yeah. So what if I was an angel investor and I wanted a cut of your business? What I'd do is I'd probably pitch you like saying, you got lots of listeners, but you're not getting enough baseline subscribers to give you the base load. Yeah. Okay, great. I say, well, as you know, I'm also chairman of YouTube, so I can make sure the algorithm boosts what you're doing. So I'll make an investment, we'll grow the business, and then on the back of that, we'll push more through YouTube with ads and blah. So that's what they'd come at you with, something like that. And so there's always a way to invest in the business, but you have to know whether it's the way you want it to grow.
Exactly. The way you just described is my idea of hell.
Well, there you go. And this is part of the problem. This is what, there you go. So again.
Is that wrong though?
Yeah, no, because right now we're fighting the globalists. I mean, globalization is death, basically. It doesn't work. It's too big. No one's represented. They runs all sorts of spells on us. Oh, this problem can't be fixed unless everyone behaves a certain way. And they will go, oh, take our money, take our taxes, do it. And then they don't do it. So we know it's a scam. I mean, I'm old now. You know, when I was a kid, I believed all these things. You know, when I was a kid, they said, oh, you pay taxes. I said, why do you pay taxes? Oh, it's for the roads. But more importantly, it's for the homeless people. And they have no words. So the government takes your money and it provides them with homes. And for the poor children whose parents, I was young then. I'm not young now. There are still homeless people. There are still holes in the road. Hello, it didn't work. 40 years.
Yeah, so governments are lying.
Governments don't work. Globalization on that scale definitely doesn't work. So we have to reinvent and rebuild something. And we're quite fortunate because, in my very humble opinion, the globalists have been so greedy, they've made lots of mistakes, and people are realizing that it doesn't work. They don't have to wait 40 years like I did to figure out it doesn't work. Everyone's realizing it doesn't work. So we have a head start. So entrepreneurs, yes, if they want to ask me for advice personally, yeah, get in touch. I'm at Eddie Obeng on Twitter, or just track me down. If you Google Eddie Obeng, I'll come up somewhere. And I'm quite happy to coach you or guide you or answer any questions.
So let's go back to that. So I think, so what you're trying to say is, like everything, everybody wants convenience food and junk food.
And do they?
Yeah, a lot of people do, trust me.
And do they?
Yeah. They want that quick fix. No one, they go to see the doctor, they want the quick fix. They don't want to make the lifestyle changes. They don't want to put in the graft and the effort into doing something. Everybody wants a shortcut. Well, a lot of people do anyway.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is it the same with business? People want that quick fix. Oh, you know what? Give money to SEO optimization and you'll increase your brand. Go to a branding expert. Spend more money with him. Actually, just create a really good product that people want.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. But also...
I'm going back to the business and the marketing.
There's a challenge with imagination. And sometimes people don't have enough imagination. So when you suggest to them what they want or need, they agree with you. And it's always worth bearing that in mind.
What, they just say yes?
Yeah, because it's marketing and persuasion are pretty good these days. So it's easy to influence a large number of people to believe they need or want something they may not have done. It's not as hard as it used to be.
PsyOps. Why do you think that is?
Well, about 1976, a chap called Robert Cialdini wrote a book called Persuasion. And he'd been watching what makes people respond. And the story I always like telling is, he noticed things like, if there was a queue and you want to go to the front of the queue, if you barge to the front of the queue, people will say, no, don't do that. But if you say to people as you're jumping the queue, I need to be at the front because I have to be at the front, they'll let you go. He discovered things like, if you give somebody something, then a little bit of your old crocodile monkey brain goes, oh, they give me a potato. I have to remember to give them one back because we're tribal. And so things like reciprocity, he discovered that. He discovered things like your brain. Your brain is a really useless thing because it can't see reality. So, for example, if you've taken one step, you always think you have to take the next consistent step, even if it doesn't make any sense, because your brain doesn't. So, for example, you come into a car showroom, they'll say, have a seat, would you like a coffee? You say, yes. Well, if you've had a coffee, then let's have a walk now that you've had a coffee. Well, now you're walking around, would you like to sit in the car? And you just go along with it because they all seem like logical steps. And you don't want to break the sequence. And so they discovered things like consistency is one of the things which makes people react. And so once he'd written that book, people started paying attention on how to influence people. And so now the lexicon of influencing people is pretty large. So we now know, I have a diagram, it's called a persuasion map. So if anyone wants it, I can put it on a link to it. But at the bottom is logic and facts.
Send it to me, I'll put it in the show notes.
Logic and facts, no impact. They don't work. They don't persuade people. A story about facts. So logic and facts. I got up at 12 o'clock. Okay. Story about 12 o'clock. About facts. You know, I opened my eyes and I couldn't believe what was happening. I looked and it was really bright. It was 12 o'clock, you know. So That gets people a little bit further. Then you discover that there are other things like if people hear something which rhymes, they believe it more.
Mm.
If it has cadence, take back control, they believe it more. And the list goes on. And so there's a huge plethora of things which have happened. Colors, red, yellow, and black. They now know how to use all these colors to influence people's thinking.
What do you mean, yeah, red, yellow, black?
So what color, you're walking through town and there's a sale on in the shop. What color is the sign?
Red.
Why?
Because it grabs your attention.
Yeah, and?
Urgent.
Yeah, well, there you go. They know how to use it. Once upon a time, somebody had handwritten, there's a sale in this shop on a piece of white paper. You never see that anymore these days because everyone knows how to do it, etc. So, but this whole map, it gets...
My dad used to do that.
By hand.
In the 1980s, he'd get these big paint brushes. I remember, and he loved doing it. He loved getting the blue and the black and the red, and he'd be like, sale, 99 pence.
Yeah.
And it was all very beautiful. He used to put up these signs. And then I remember we used to get then the banners, just the red sale
Correct.
with the white lettering.
And that works much better.
Yeah, I remember that.
There you go. So that's the world we live in. People know how this works. And that's what that would be below the line. That's called ethical persuasion. So ethical persuasion is when you let the person make their own mind up. Then you move into the realm of unethical persuasion.
Oh, shit.
Then you're into fear. Fear is the best. Fear is like magic. Fear is great. Nothing beats fear.
If you don't subscribe to my podcast, someone's going to come around and kill you tonight.
Yeah, that would work. That would work. Or you could make a story. You could say,
I don't want that
you
kind
could
of...
say 12 non-subscribers died recently. It was gruesome and horrible. You should think about doing it. And you may need a little bit of rhyming. You go, Doc Malik, that's the place to go. Doc Malik. I can't rhyme. But we know how to do persuasion. So one of the things which has happened is it's not just stayed in the business realm. Everyone uses it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you lived through that event in 2020, pandemic-y thing, do you remember that?
No, what was that about?
Okay, so, well, if you didn't live through it, then you probably didn't recognize it, but everything was brilliant. They used visual persuasion, so they showed you images to grab your emotion, which emotion is great because emotion, once you grab somebody by their emotion, they can't think. Literally.
I'm going to find some. Carry on talking.
Fear is great because when you hit someone with fear, the frontal cortex goes off, the bit where you do your thinking. The amygdala, which is the little bit at the back of your neck, switches on, and it goes, oh my goodness, I'm going to die.
I've just found
And once it's done that, it goes from logic into adrenaline, fight, flight, and then emotion. And the emotion can't be beaten except by another emotion. So
I've got one, right? I'll just quick. You can't see the screen.
Yeah.
But one day I actually will get. If anybody wants to
sponsor,
if anybody wants to sponsor me and donate some money so I can get a screen that I can share with my guest, I like over here would be quite good.
Oh, it'd be fantastic there.
And then I can show you,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think some donations should come through. And if you're running at the moment, just stop and pause for a second. I know you won't be able to see it, but when you get back, you'll be able to see edited highlights of the images from that screen which you donated to. And if we don't get a single person to donate, then somebody can start a crowdfunder.
But the one that thank you, Eddie. The picture I've got up is an NHS campaign, and it goes, look him in the eyes, and he's got a mask, and tell him you always keep a safe distance.
So that's
and then the next one is, look in her eyes and tell her you never bend the rules.
Yeah.
Look him in the eyes and tell him the risk isn't real. What is this BS?
That's coercive. That's above the line. That's the coercive.
That's unethical, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you've got another one. Stay home, protect the NHS, save lives. Yellow with red all the way around it.
You understand the colors. Got it.
Boom.
Okay, boom. So now it's well understood. People use persuasion on us all the time. I've got a little document where I've written the modern spells. And I just call them spells because they know how to do it and they have formulae to fool everyone into complying. I mean, so fear stuff is great, but the all sorts of different tricks they use. They use framing. So they introduce, you can always tell when you're in one of these spells because it always comes with a word. So what was the one they had? Anticyclonic gloom. Remember the terrible weather, and they were trying to persuade us that this was normal. So they give it a name. Oh, this is anticyclonic gloom. So you go, oh, that's all right then. Because your brain, which is seeking an answer, now has an answer. So you stop questioning it. But now you're in the frame and you're...
But what's wrong with my brain? Because I hear something like that and I go, bullshit. It's like...
Yeah, you're not normal. I'm sorry. It could be something to do with being a surgeon. I don't know. Or genetic,
No, it's not surgeon.
Yeah, but most people are rushing from A to B, the soundbite people. And they're going, why is the weather so shit? Why is the weather so shit? And somebody says, have you looked at the USAID budget? Maybe they're funding geoengineering over your head. I'm a pilot. Other pilots argue with me and say there's no such thing as geoengineering. Hilarious.
Do you know my podcast came out yesterday about geoengineering?
Oh, well done.
Max Bliss, and he talks about it and the patents and the patents going back decades.
Yeah.
And actually a lot of it...
It's an international treaty from the 1940s. Which says one country can't mess another country's weather up. Why would you need an international treaty if you can't do?
Right. And you can't do weather warfare, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, why would they do that unless they can do it?
No, they can. They started off quite simply as a way of hiding ships from aircraft who were looking to bomb them in the Second World War.
Yeah.
So they'd put up a screen of cloud. That's how the whole idea started.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, it's not planes with tanks full of stuff. They've just added stuff to the fuel
or chaff. Yeah. And
so the pilot doesn't need to know. They're just burning the fuel, and the aluminium's in there, especially in biofuel.
Can do anything,
and all these heavy metals and everything, and that's what's causing all this cloud cover.
Yeah, it's fascinating. But I was just mentioning it because
business.
If they're trying to distract you from that, they give you a word, and I just chose anticyclonic gloom. But it's all like that. I mean, whenever you hear one of those words you've never used, like COVID-19, never heard of that.
I'll give you another example.
It's persuasion.
I'll give you another example. Sudden infant death syndrome.
It's persuasion.
SIDS.
It's persuasion.
Oh yeah, because babies just die suddenly.
Yeah, they persuaded you it's true. It's not true.
And that's totally normal. And you know what? I posted on my X today. I'm actually going to share the screen. Posted on X today this paper from not very long ago. And let me just quote it exactly so I don't get it wrong. But listen to this, Eddie. I said, maybe babies don't just die suddenly.
No.
Right? Maybe it's the vaccines that are killing them.
No.
Right? And this is a paragraph from the paper. And the paper is Toxicology Report 2021. The reference is all there on X. I'm sharing the screen. Although there is considerable evidence that a subset of infants has an increased risk of sudden death after receiving vaccines, health authorities have eliminated prophylactic vaccination as an official cause of death. So medical examiners are compelled to misclassify and conceal vaccine-related fatalities under alternative cause of death classifications. And this paper showed that of all the reported SID cases post-vaccination, 75% occurred within 7 days. So just think about that. So maybe instead of saying, oh, by the way, these shots might be killing some of our babies, they go, oh, no, it's sudden infant death syndrome. Don't you know that?
Yes, it's just a word. So people know how to do persuasion. So that's always, you just have to realize that almost everything you hear is likely to be fake. Whether it's people who agree with you or disagree with you, a lot of it's fake.
That's really worrying. That's really sad. Well, it kind of is, because it's like, I'm not here having this podcast and you talking, hoping to mislead and confuse people and have an agenda behind it.
Yeah.
I pride myself on being authentic.
Correct.
Now that doesn't mean that I'm right all the time. It means that I can be wrong, but I'm not deliberately going out to be wrong and mislead people and to manipulate people.
I don't think most people are. I think most people do things like they just repeat the talking points they hear.
So when you say most of the stuff, are you talking about things from corporations and governments?
Yeah. Well, if you're a corporation, if you're a small enterprise and you've got a heart and you're starting your new business and you're serving your customers, great. Once you become a corporation, then you have these things called shareholders and you have to serve them as well. And they just get served by you giving them money.
But that's a fiduciary principle. You have to serve them.
Okay?
More than your customers.
Well, they're one set of the stakeholders, but yes, you have to serve them. It depends on which country you're in, okay? So you have to serve them. And so now you get compelled to focus less on the customer-centric service and more on the margins. And then it becomes interesting because then we've got a new product. We've got to tell everyone. Oh, okay. So then it becomes important to be able to persuade and so on and so forth, as opposed to actually, because there's not necessarily a pull from the customer. So you have to persuade them, build the market and so on. So, it's not evil. It's not, it's the side effect of scaling too large on enterprises. It's a side effect of that. But most people are passing on information and information is incorrect, but they don't know because they're just repeating sound bites. You said there's only 5 ways to know whether something is not true. You can't know that it's true. I have a weird background. I've got doctorate and stuff. So when people talk about science, I always smile because science it's really hard even for scientists because most of us cheat. You're playing golf by yourself. The ball almost goes in. You tip it in. And then you say, I did it. So it's really hard not to cheat. So scientists are a small subset. And then doing science requires this particular rule where you have to have one group of things you don't do anything to and another group of things you just do one thing to so you can compare them. And so science only works in very, very few places. It works in physics, sort of works in chemistry, a little bit in biology, but not in health. Because you can't have a vaccinated child and the equivalent twin non-vaccinated. So you can never do science because you can't compare them. So what they used to do is they used to do like population studies. They do a trial. They'd have like 20 people or 200 people. Now in the old days, that made sense because they'd have a trial in West Yorkshire. They all had exactly the same genetics or similar. So when you gave them X, you could see how they responded. But if these days, everyone's all mixed up. And so the genetics is very different. So if you have 20,000 people, in fact, the bigger the trial, in my very humble opinion, the less meaningful it is. Because you've got all sorts of genetics, all sorts of side effects. You can't make any sense of it.
And variabilities. Forget even genetics, just variabilities.
Yeah.
Okay, you said there's only 5 ways of proving
So one is science.
Okay. Another thing is go back to the framing thing. I want you, after you've done this, I want you to talk about the ways they frame and persuade people.
Yeah.
I feel like there was more there. But anyway,
there's tons there. Yeah.
5 ways to...
So 5 ways. Science. Okay, you can't do it. I can't do it. It's hard to do. It can only work in certain situations. Okay. Second one is baby method. You're talking about babies. When baby sees something, what does it do? It sees it. That's one sense. Touches it, second sense. Puts it in its mouth, third sense. Tastes it. So you use what's those multiple different ways of looking at it. So, for example, when I was told during the lockdowns that lots and lots of people were dying, my mother-in-law just died, and so I phoned up the chap who ran the home, okay, who managed the funeral. And I said, Dale, you must be overloaded with work. And he said, no, I'm not busy at all. So I had one sense come from the BBC telling me there's overload. Another sense saying I'm not busy at all. So I thought, I'll go and look at what the parish council records say of people dying. No one's dying. So by looking at things in multiple ways, you can tell. So I tell you climate change.
Like the hospitals are dead quiet.
But climate change. Okay, great. So if climate change was happening, what would we expect? We'd expect the insurance premiums on seaside properties to go up. Has it gone up? No. Okay. Climate change was happening. What else would we expect? So just look at 3 or 4 different things which should happen, just like a baby. And if they're not there, then the original thing was just made up. So that's method number 2. Method number 3 is prediction method. So, for example, you say, I think Farage is just a shill. Okay, great. Well, what do you think he'll do next week? Well, he'll make out that he's in the poll lead, whatever it is. And you wait a week. Did he make that out? Yes. So it could be true. We'll see. Did he not do it? Or no, he didn't. That's wrong. So you predict it. And if the prediction doesn't come true, obviously it evaporates. And then the next one, which follows that, is the dead dog. Sorry, the dog that didn't bark, not the dead dog, the dog that didn't bark. So there's a Sherlock Holmes story where there's been a burglary. The people in the house say it's the gypsies down the road. Sherlock Holmes knows that it was someone in the house because the dog didn't bark. So what you're looking for, what should have been there, which isn't there. So if they tell you that, I don't know, give me one of the hoaxes they're doing on us, any of the hoaxes, Trump is stealing all the money or whatever it is, then you would expect to see a lot of shady characters walking down the corridors. Look, and if there are no shady characters, then it's probably not true. Do you see what I mean? If there are, then it's probably true. We'll carry on. And then the last method, of course, is nature. And nature is quite central to everything, because nature is why we serve each other, because nature is basically a global system of service. Everything eats everything else. It's only stupid human beings who make plastic, which nothing eats, But everything eats everything else. Everything serves everything else one way or another, either with their lives or providing CO2, oxygen, or roots for things to grow. Everything serves everything else. So nature is the final one. If something doesn't happen in nature, it's probably not true. So when they tell you men can become women, you go, okay, does that happen in nature? Well, it can happen with frogs sometimes. Does it happen often with larger primates? No, it probably is not true. So those are the 5 methods. I have a tool called May It Be True. So again, I'll put that for the link so you can point people to it. And it's just something to do, because otherwise you get fooled all the time. And apart from looking for the words, which are a clue, the second thing to do is think about your emotion. If you read or feel anything which makes you angry, happy, sad, or whatever it is, more than should be. In other words, if you're happy and you're happier than you are when you see your other half, that's probably fake. Somebody's manipulating you. Or if you're disgusted more than when you put the rubbish out and the bag bottom fell out, someone's manipulating you. So it's possible. The framing is important. So the way the brain works, I wish I'd brought this for you. I'll do it verbally, okay, and you just answer. So I'm going to give you a sequence of, it works better visually, but we'll try it verbally. I'll give you a sequence of numbers, and you just tell me the next 1 or 2. So the numbers I'll give you are 1, 3, 5, 7,
9, 11.
Perfect. Okay, let's make it more difficult. Let's do it. So 2, 4, 8, 16.
32.
Yeah, perfect.
64.
Okay, I'll give you a series. So capital A, capital E, capital F, capital I. Exactly. Because I trained you with the first 2, so you thought it was about numbers. So the moment I said capital A, you just went, well, I don't know. God, you weren't even listening to what I was saying. Am I right?
No, I was trying to think how many letters between the next one.
You were doing sums on letters. That's the second bit of training. So when I said A, if you didn't react, then the AE, you went, oh, there's a gap of 4. F, there's a gap of 1. Yeah. So now you're doing sums.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Yeah, I was trying to do the numbers.
I was just listing capital letters with straight lines only.
Oh.
It's got nothing to do with the numbers. That's what framing is. Framing is setting the brain in such a condition that it's only going to go down one track. It can't come off that track.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's that easy.
It's that scary that it's that easy.
It's that easy.
Oh, shit.
It's that easy. So when you read a headline and it says, I don't know, rule breaking surgeon suggests other ways of doing things, you've been framed, because the rule breaking is so you won't take the surgeon seriously. Literally in the headline, everyone's going to ignore everything that surgeon says.
But it's always like that. It's like, now I'll give an example. So they'll do things like, I'm just changing the light. They'll say things like, disgraced.
There you go.
Doctor.
Framed.
You're straight away, you're being framed. Disgraced doctor.
Correct.
Anti-vaxxer or blah, blah, blah. I mean, so then that, no matter what, and then it doesn't matter if the court case was,
No, it doesn't matter. You're framed. And so then you see everything in that light. So if it says, disgraced surgeon says, this book is great.
Yeah.
Then people go, disgusting book. They won't even look at the book.
Yeah.
And even if they read the book and the book says you should go for a walk every morning, they'll go, that's only for idiots. Because once you're framed, I'll give you my personal story. When they started marketing The Simpsons, they did an ad campaign which didn't work for me. They just said, it's all about bad boy Bart. And they eat my shorts, ha ha. And I just thought it's disgusting. So I saw this advert and they framed me wrong. I obviously wasn't the target market. So I never watched The Simpsons for years, decades. People say, The Simpsons is really funny. And I wouldn't watch it. I just wouldn't watch it. And then I was on a flight and I was asleep, woke up, and on the screen there was this yellow-haired woman and somebody said something or something. And I laughed out loud. It was so funny. So what's this? And now this is The Simpsons. I'd never seen it because for me, I had put it in a category and gone down that track. I wasn't even going to look at it to find out I was wrong. That's how bad framing can make things.
And you know what? I'm just going to share.
So if you're framed,
again. I'm sorry, just very quickly. I'm going to share the screen again.
Yeah.
And to give an example, and there's 2 examples here. So one, it goes unrepentant.
Oh, there you go.
Anti-vax GP.
There you go.
So unrepentant doesn't sound like a nice person.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're stubborn. You know.
Yeah.
They're not. They've got no humility. They're arrogant.
Yeah.
And then they're anti-vax.
Yeah.
So they got a double dosage, right? And then, but it wasn't just the headlines. So there's a framing being done now with visuals. So it's such a shame I can't show you on this.
On the screen, which is sponsored by.
That someone's going to donate to me. You know, these stands for the camera were donated by someone called Richard Merriam. Shout out to him.
Thank you, Richard Merriam. So on this screen you want, what type of screen is it? I mean, if someone's going to sponsor it, what would it be like?
It'll be like it'll be a big Apple screen.
Apple screen.
Like, 20-inch.
20-inch.
So something, like when I'm looking at my screen, you can see,
screen.
You can see what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a picture of this GP, Dr. Jane Donohan, and she's got a face like this.
Yeah, of course she has.
It's screwed up. And guess what? That picture is from a video.
Mm.
And when you're talking,
specific.
So someone has watched the video and frame by frame and just captured that frame.
Absolutely.
Where for that one split second, she's just gone out like this with her nose.
Perfect.
And they've made her look like a crazy witch.
Correct.
And it's like, so let's frame her with unrepentant, anti-vax, and a crazy witch face.
Correct. And so if you see that,
bastards.
if you see that, feel disgusted. And if you feel disgusted, you have to know somebody's manipulating you. That's what this is the whole thing. So the people go, oh, they should know that they're not reacting to reality. They're reacting to what's being put in front of them. And you have to sort of pay attention all the time, and people don't like paying attention. So that's why there's so much gibberish out there.
So that one of the things that what you're talking about. So out of the Ukraine war, we've seen nothing, right? There's been something like 500,000 more, deaths or something. Hundreds of thousands of men have died. You barely see anything. People have been blown up in the streets of Donetsk, and bombs are being shelled over. You don't see any of that stuff, right? We've been pretty immune to it. Would you agree?
Yeah.
But then what I would say is, why are we being shown of what's going on in Gaza? Like, why have we been shown the babies with the brains blown out?
Yeah.
The women and the children, the people trying to rescue someone, and then the drone hitting all the people. Like, we are able to see it. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on X.
Sure.
It's not like it's
being manipulated.
I know it's not on BBC. I know it's not on the mainstream media, but anybody can see on alternative media the barbarity which the Israeli forces and regime are doing to the Palestinians. And I can only think we are being manipulated. We're being manipulated to be outraged, to feel disgraced, despondent, depressed, helpless, hopeless, and anger. And it does create, I think, genuine anti-Semitism, because they go, see, 90% of Jews in Israel think this is okay.
So
I think we're being played. I think everyone's being played.
Well, yeah, I try to avoid mind reading. So I will say what's going on, but I never try and attribute the reason somebody's doing it.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's mind reading, and only insane people do mind reading. So
maybe I've been insane a few times. But maybe I'm guilty of being.
It's great, but it's not a real thing. And this the problem with mind reading is there's a lady called Susan Schultz, and she tells this wonderful story, and it's really good, I think. She says, "How does it feel to be wrong?" And most people will answer, "How does it feel to be wrong?" Most people answer,
"Brilliant."
No, you're lying. It's miserable, horrible, embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's what most people say. Yeah. And then she says, "No, you're giving me the answer to a different question." I said, "How does it feel to be wrong?" You're answering, "How does it feel when you discover you're wrong?" Being wrong has no feeling. There's no feeling to it. You can't tell.
I know you don't believe this, but I actually don't mind being wrong.
No, neither do I.
I'll tell you why. Right. This is a quote. Right. I'm reading Meditations now. Meditations from Marcus Aurelius.
Yes.
I'm reading it to my kids. If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change.
Yeah.
It's the truth I'm after. And the truth never harmed anyone.
Yeah.
What harms us is to persist in self-deceit and ignorance. And I swear to God, Eddie, that's how I feel.
Yeah, but that's because you've made the decision to pursue that thinking in terms of exactly. But most people are just living their lives. So being wrong feels horrible, feels embarrassing.
All right. Would you agree with me, though, that the whole Gaza thing, we're being manipulated?
Well, yes, I suspect so. It looks like that. If you ask me, I'd say, yeah, that's exactly how it looks.
I'm not saying the motives behind it. I don't know either.
No.
But I just feel
of course
that we are being
because
manipulated.
you've got two different situations and you're looking at them and you're getting different amounts of information. Somebody's reduced the information on one, allowed the information on the other.
Yeah.
Hi, me again. You're listening to the Doc Malik podcast. This show is 100% independent and fully funded by listeners like yourself. So if you wish to support Ahmed in all that he is doing, then please subscribe to his channel on Spotify or on his Substack, or simply buy him a coffee with one of the donation links which can be found at docmalik.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Why?
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you're going to mind reading.
Exactly.
I can't do that.
That's fine. That's fine.
Can't guess. But the thing about the exposing yourself is, I mean, I don't have a television at home. I've not had a television at home since 2011.
You don't like being brainwashed?
No, I don't like being brainwashed. I mean, people say to me, well, how do you know the news? I'm going, are you crazy? You know, but I've not had television. I don't have a smartphone, so I don't get brainwashed. Because again, the smartphone, wonderful device for framing and messing around, because you can catch things even through your peripheral vision and they have an impact. But what happens is, I don't know whether you realize this, but yeah. So when you see a bird, say pecking at seeds, you've got chickens, haven't you? Okay, so you can see a bird, often it'll sort of cock its head, okay, and cocks its head like that. Why? Because it's using its right eye to look up to make sure there are no eagles, and the left eye to peck at the seed. Okay, why? Because the two halves of your brain do two different jobs. The left one has the big ideas, the reason for being. And if you listen to somebody like McGilchrist, Professor McGilchrist, he'll explain that that's the boss, that's the master. The right brain, it just does what transactional, what's required of it. Sorry, I've done it the other way, wrong way around. Okay, it does it what's transactional, and it should be following. So what happens is when you're scrolling, you're doing a very repetitive action. So the brain, which doesn't do the big picture thinking, takes over, and it's doing all the activity. It has no judgment. It doesn't say good or bad. Can't see what's coming next. So the more you work on an iPhone or a smartphone or any of these scrolly things, the less you can be clearly able to think and see the big picture and see whether things are real. So using a device like that actually makes it easier to be framed and easier for you to be persuaded.
So say that again.
Because you've switched off your critical functions.
This is so important. It needs to be heard again. Repeat all of that.
So, two bits of your brain, okay? One does more big picture. I'm simplifying. The new scientists will kill me. The other bit does more tasky stuff, okay? So, if you're using something like a smartphone, you're scrolling, you're doing the same repetitive task. So, the task part of your brain is the most active part, okay? And it almost sort of shuts down and bores the other part, which does the critical thinking and the big picture and where you get your imagination and stuff from. So you're actually taking on board data in that format, you're less critical than if it was a big play and everyone was discussing it, you'd go, that's bollocks. But when you're simply carrying out a task of checking your emails, looking at your what
Facebook,
whatever it is,
Instagram,
you're much less critical.
TikTok.
Correct. You're transactional. You're not thinking about the bigger picture. And that's why somebody says something rude to you on X, you want to reply immediately. No, if you were using your bigger brain, you'd go, who is this person? Don't know them. But you get to reply and say bad things back, you know. So the persuasion, the framing and stuff, it's made much easier by us.
Wow.
So in terms of just trying to understand how important it is for people to build different ways of doing things, build businesses, build their skills, build their ability to lead, is absolutely crucial, because all these global scale activities, like, you know, the way in which we've made, even say you said Facebook, global, everything's big. Those things are not really helpful for human beings, because human beings, individual, sovereign, serve each other, ka-ching. That works. Everything else doesn't. Everything else gets into scale, gets corrupted. We talked about corporations, and then suddenly, if it's governments, they coerce you and take half your money. You know, what's that about? US aid and they spend it on what they like. What's that about? It's not a good plan.
And the politicians, I mean, even that's, they framed it like, really, it's the words, isn't it? Words are the problem. What a politician is actually a tax collector.
Yeah.
And as someone who's working on behalf of someone else.
Yeah. So
they're not representing us.
So just two things I'll say very quickly. First is politics, in terms of parliamentary politics, broke down a long time ago. In the old days, you'd have a representative, they'd get on a horse, they'd ride to Westminster, it'd take them 2 days. That's why you need a representative, because it's so far away. Then they'd come and say, I'm from this town and we make shoes. We need more shoe leather, whatever it is. And then nobody would vote for them. So they'd say to the person they're sitting next to, vote for me. And they say, well, why should I? He said, well, because I can shoes. He said, well, I don't care about shoes. My town, we make fish. So I said, look, I'll vote for your fish if you vote for my shoes. This happened 180 years ago when they started with parliamentary parties. So I'd vote for you, you'd vote for me. So they made parties so that they could get together and vote things through. So they always ends up about 50-50. Of course it does, because that's the break point. And so once you'd done that, nobody cared what the people in the village were, whether they're making fish or shoes. Then they had the parliamentary plan of what they were going to do. Then they had their manifesto. It's nothing to do with the people. So 180 years ago, it evaporated. So as long as you remember that, that's quite important. But the headache we have at the moment is, I'll use a biblical analogy because it's the best. Go on.
Very quickly, I agree 100%. I think party politics is actually the opposite of democracy, because instead of, and I'm not even a fan of democracy, but I mean, let's just stick to democracy right now. But basically, if you've got a party, you're beholden to the party, not the people.
Exactly.
How are you a representative of the people? This bullshit. You're literally whipped into line.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. Anyway, you're going to carry on.
Yeah, I was just going to say the problem we've got with governments, if you take governments at the moment, is just three quick stories. So, both my grandparents were in the church, so I know the Bible really well. Okay, don't do church. Seems like a crazy thing to do, but I can tell you the Bible. So Exodus, interesting story. The Jews end up as slaves in Israel, in Egypt. So the story they tell is all about the little boy and the little rush things on the river. That's not the story. The real story is these guys were poor. They went into Egypt. They said, look, we've got no food. There were no jobs in those days. Pharaoh, will you feed us? Pharaoh said, yeah, I'll feed you, but work. Okay. And so they made an agreement. Then the Pharaoh died. Then the guy who took them in died. Then the Pharaoh's son came along. They'd forgotten after a while that they actually came in freely. So now they were slaves because they'd always been there. And so then they went, shit, we're stuck in the tyranny. How do we get out? So when you're stuck in someone else's country and the person's a tyrant, that's what the story of Exodus is about. It's about escaping when you're in someone else's country. The story of Jesus, and I'm paraphrasing, so please don't get triggered. The story of Jesus, basically, he came and said, do as I do. That's what he said. He didn't ask us to do anything else. Just do as I do. What was he doing? He was basically stuck in the tyranny. This was different because the tyrants had come into his country. The Romans had come into his country and they were basically doing bad things to everyone. That's a tyranny. So they coerce you, they force you, they kill you, and he got killed. Okay, so that's a different type of tyranny. The modern tyranny, and I'm not going to sort of shit on the politicians or anything else like that, because it's much broader than that. The modern tyranny is in your mind. Tyrants are in your mind. They literally are living in your mind. That's what the persuasion stuff is. That's why people repeat talking points. That's why people get annoyed with their family because they won't get vaxxed. The tyrants are in your mind controlling you. So we've got mind tyrants. So for me, that's why things like understanding persuasion are important. That's why things like being able to step up and start serving each other. Because if you're serving each other, the mind tyrants can't work, And so that was a long answer to a short question.
It's beautiful. That's what I've actually said. I gave a speech and I said the war is on the mind.
Yeah.
And they're
absolutely spot on.
Behavioral manipulation, coercion, they've taken over our family members. They've, convinced a lot of good people that they're doing good when in fact they're doing evil.
Correct.
Most of the evil that's done in this world is not by the bad people, it's by good people thinking they're doing good.
Yeah.
That's honest truth. By the way, just a side note, I've read some people that say even that biblical story is an inversion. Everything's an inversion. Actually, the Egyptians were conquered.
Is that right?
And if you look, there's the Hyksos or
Hyksos, yeah.
They came for 90 years or something.
Yes,
They conquered Egypt.
They did. Not at the same time, but yes, they did.
I'm just saying they conquered Egypt, and then the Egyptians had to kick them out.
Correct.
So what I'm trying to say is,
chariots and horses, and nobody knew what a horse was. Yes.
yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, we don't know what the real history is.
No.
Some people say it's a complete inversion, and actually, what the people who were the oppressed were actually the oppressors.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And what I'm just saying is, if you look back at history, even just 100 years, a lot of what we think is the truth, it was the exact opposite. So why can't we even stretch that back? I'm at this point where, you know what, everything's open. I'm open to everything. Anything could be true right now. It's just crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the things, nothing lasts forever. So the tyrant can become a slave, but the process of tyranny is the same. It's basically a process where a group of people, I won't say sides, because I don't believe in sides, because it's too simple. When you're a kid and you're at school, they tell you about sides. So you've got, like football, or, when you're playing chess, you versus me. But I've done strategy for so many large companies. And when you're doing strategy, you're doing, what are we going to do? What are the competitors going to do? What's the government going to do? There's no sides. And then once you're successful, everyone copies you. So there's no such thing as sides. People, it's just fluidity of people trying to get their own way and be autonomous. That's the way I would describe it. So if you take that and then you take your idea of inversion, then you just go, this must happen all the time. And then whoever's won at that time makes the story up.
Yes.
Okay. And then if they get booted out, then the next lot make the story up. There's no reason they shouldn't.
Absolutely. And you know what? I don't like sides either. You have to be liberal or conservative.
It's
you have to be
nonsense.
Democrat or Republican. You have to be.
There's no such thing.
And the reality is, it's not binary, and they want to force you into binary choices.
You know why?
And I know why. I know why. But for the sake of the audience,
well, it's very effective, but there's another persuasion method called contrast persuasion. So if you are selling something and you say, Dan really explains this quite well, but you say, there's one car and you say, would you like the car? People go, If you say, would you like the blue car or the red car? They go, I want the red one. Once you have a contrast, then the brain works. But if you make the mistake of saying, do you want the blue car, the red car, or the van? The person walks out of the shop not buying anything because it becomes too complicated. So that's one of the reasons that I don't know which one you're going to say, but that they always try and put sides to force you in, to give contrast, to drive your behavior. It's very clever. I would do the same.
100%. No, I think the reason, definitely that example, and they create the Hegelian dialect, the antithesis, the thesis, the antithesis, and then they merge it, they create synthesis, and then they start the cycle all over again. Yeah. And then what happens is, like, if you've got a boat, you tack left and you tack right, tack left, tack right. And even though it's going that way, actually it's going that direction. Mm-hmm. And so they want to narrow the options and they want to control all variabilities. They never want you to have true choice. And the true choice is, maybe I don't want to play. Yeah. Maybe I don't want to be on the boat. Maybe I want to go that direction, and so now you're adding all these variabilities. And if you have all these variabilities, you're uncontrollable. Yeah. So to control you, they give you two options, and it's always two because it's easier.
It's easier for you as well.
Some people might say, well, what about the fact that you got the Reform Party now? I would argue that they created Labour and Conservative to be almost the one party. So people got fed up. They were like, we've got a uni-party system. And that was a deliberate thing. And now, because it became centrist, everything is centrist. Yeah. It's so obvious now. So now they've created the Reform to give people the impression that they're getting something radically different. And, if you look at Conservatives, they've also really brought them down. You never hear about the Conservative leader. You never hear any Conservative politician in the news or the talking point. All over social media, it's Keir Starmer, Reform Party, Keir Starmer, it's just constant. So that's all your tensions on. So they always manufacture it so that you're forced into one option or the other.
Yeah. So, just three different things. One is, I don't know what they're up to. I don't know whether, I would agree with you that it's probably control, but I have no idea.
No, you're not a mind reader.
I can't do the mind reading. I don't have no idea what they're up to. The word "they" is very funny. I have a corporate psychologist friend, and he always says, when people say "they," I always decide that they're paranoid and they need treatment. So So, and then I read
Maybe I do.
Well, I'm just coming. I read a book by Fergus O'Connor, which is 180 Degrees. And he describes they as the hierarchies exploiting you, but it's hierarchies exploiting you. And that fits for me perfectly, that there are multiple people all playing different games, all just trying to get their own way. And you're just part of that game. And you are doing the same thing, probably in your office or to your family or to your town, so it's not unusual. So that
I'm not exploiting anyone, Buster.
I don't know. You say that.
Shut up.
Well, I met your cat, and it was very nice to you.
So?
Well, there you go.
What? That doesn't mean I'm exploiting it.
Oh, I don't know about that. You must feed it so it comes back again. That's a bit exploitative.
I'm exploiting my cat by feeding it.
Yes, you're controlling its behavior.
What?
You're controlling its behavior. You are.
No, listen, look. There's a pecking order in our house, right? Right? And the pecking order is the 3 little kids, youngest to oldest, the wife, the cats, the stick insects, then little old me.
Yeah, that's what you say. I interviewed the cat just before I came in.
Yeah. She was sitting on...
I wanted to be a wild cat, but the food here is so great.
No, she's not. Right, anyway, so let's go back to the business thing. So we've talked about framing and unethical and ethical practices in terms of marketing.
Yeah.
What else?
So once you got the business moving, then really the trick is to drive it upwards. The most consistent method was invented by a chap called Eli Goldratt. And
that's not a very good name. Goldratt?
Yeah, he's Goldratt with 2 T's. Yeah. So he basically described what he calls it the process of ongoing improvement, but lots of analogies, and maybe we've got time, I'll explain. But he says, look, when you get your business finally going and it's now starting to wash its face, there'll be something which stops you making more money, serving more people, whatever it is. There'll be something. It could be you, it could be the speed of your hard drive, it could be whatever it is. Okay, find your constraint, the bottleneck. Then the second rule is once you know what that is, make sure that you never let it stop. You never sub-optimize it. You get as much out as possible. So I do this all the time. So I'll walk into a coffee shop with somebody and I'll go, it's the barista or it's the washing. Because I spot the bottlenecks. Because you can always tell a bottleneck because people are waiting for it. Okay. And so and then you see the barista and nobody's helping them. No one's doing their milk for them. If they handed them the milk, they could make 2 more cups and the coffee shop would quadruple its turnover, for example. Okay. So you find the constraint and you look after that constraint and you try and make that less and less and less of a constraint. So try and make it go faster. And then what you'll find is that all the other things around it, you have to align to support that constraint as it's getting less and less of a constraint. And then suddenly it'll flip and the constraint will go somewhere else. So suddenly it'll move from the barista to the person who welcomes people so there'll be a queue going out the room and the restaurant's empty because the person who's welcoming is too slow. So now that's your bottleneck. And each time you do that. So that's how you then start to improve and grow your business from the resources you already have without having to go out and borrow lots of money and so on. So that if you're growing organically, that's a really important thing to be able to do. And he talks about basically it's 5 steps. Identify the constraint, make sure it's working beautifully, make sure that everything is aligned to support it, improve it as much as you can. And if it moves somewhere else, guess what? Go and deal with that one instead. So now your business is moving. You've got customers. The customers love you. They're talking about you. You've got the right segments. They're starting to grow. You're getting the more out of it. At that point, you start to think, well, now where's my constraint? And the constraint could be you. It could be the marketplace. It could be your product isn't good enough. It could be anything. And then you just continue with that process. So that's basically it. If you start bringing people in, now you have another challenge, which is human beings need to be led and managed. And that's a different challenge altogether because they can't read minds either. So what you'll find with small businesses is their inability to lead and manage people then becomes the constraint, and they can't get out of that. But it is get outable of. It's not hard. You just have to learn how to do it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, maybe one day I will be as successful as Joe Rogan and I'll have a whole production team, and I'll have someone else.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll ever be that many people. And the thing is,
it's not about the people. It's about what you're trying to do in terms of your service.
but finding the right people is difficult. Like when I was a surgeon, it changed so much, Eddie. When I was a junior doctor, a medical student, the professor, the consultant would have a matron, and in theatre, a regular person, a regular team of scrub assistants and runners, and they knew everybody, and it was a well-oiled machine.
Correct.
And then over the years,
Yes.
it started going away. Now suddenly you only had your favorite nurse once every couple of weeks.
Correct.
And then you had someone else who would come in and they'd be like, oh, I don't know the surgeon. I normally do obs and gynae, cesarean sections.
Yeah.
I've never seen an ankle arthroscopy before. And you're like, oh, great. Then that went out the window and the regular staff went out the window. And then suddenly you had bank staff. Everybody was bank staff. Your matron, your scrub nurse, the x-ray person, the runner. And now instead of you coming and it's a well-oiled machine and all you need to do is pick up the scalpel, people are like, what equipment do we need? Can you come around the back and pull out the boxes because we don't know what we need to use? Oh, I've never used this x-ray machine before. Do you know how it works? Can you just tell? It was insane. And I'm talking about the private hospital as well as the public. And if you don't have a regular team, you can't really trust this other person.
No.
There's inefficiency is stacked up. Efficiency goes out the window. Productivity goes out the window. So instead of doing 6 operations, because you're doing all the job of other people and showing them, holding them their hand, you're doing 2 and things go wrong. It's terrible. So having a good team is actually really difficult to find and maintain.
Yes, exactly. And train them up and make sure they can talk to each other. And yes, it's not trivial. I mean,
and to keep them motivated and happy.
Yeah.
Like I want them to be happy.
Yeah. And human beings are funny because if you're doing really well and you're as a well-oiled team, everything's functioning, sometimes they don't appreciate how good things are.
They get bored.
Exactly.
And you know what? I know that because I would have junior doctors come over and they go, oh, that's so easy. Can I do the next one? And I would laugh and my nurse would laugh like that. And then the nurse, more often than not would say, what Mr. Malik has demonstrated isn't something that's easy. He's made it easy because it's 20 years of hard work and experience. Every step is purposeful. There's no indecision. There's no wrong move. He doesn't have to correct an abnormal step. Everything is well thought and planned out and executed. And that's why it looks easy. The easier something looks, actually, in fact, the harder it is. And it's just someone very competent doing it. Yeah. And this is the fallacy that people just think something's easy. Oh, look, that's easy. Yeah. I could do that.
I have to say, unfortunately, I have to blame you for that.
What do you mean?
Because you probably were happy and relaxed while you were doing it.
Of course I was.
Okay. So you see somebody doing something and they're happy and relaxed. What's your immediate assumption?
That they're having fun?
Yeah, that's easy and there's no stress involved. So if you're trying to train up a young person and you look happy and relaxed, they will assume they could do it.
No, but I would tell them this is actually very difficult. And what I hated is there were so many surgeons who were mediocre or rubbish.
Yes.
Who would, I give this example.
Sweat over it.
I wrote about this on a Substack. But the ludicrous thing is the people who are the best at something get undervalued.
Of course they do.
And the people who are the worst at something get valued the most. So I'll give an example. This surgeon would be like, carpal tunnel release, right? I used to do it literally under local anesthetic about 12 in a morning list. I could do them, and the turnover time was what the rate limiting factor. I could do it safely, efficiently, and beautifully in 5 minutes, right? I kid you not. This hand surgeon, and that was as a junior doctor, this consultant hand surgeon would take his sweet God time and take like almost an hour, and he'd be like talking to the junior doctor, oh, yeah, we have to map out the skin incision, and if you're wrong, then there's a nerve branch that will come in the way, and you need to once you make the incision, just watch out for the fibers. And in my experience, I've found that they run at a 90-degree angle. And let's just everybody, let's just look at what we've done. What we've done now. If you look carefully, You can see that if we extend the incision a little, and he just talks shiitake mushrooms for an hour, making a mountain out of a fracking molehill, right? And I'm thinking, what the frack is this idiot doing?
I'm not saying that looking relaxed and happy is bad. And then, I'm just explaining to you why it happens.
Yeah. And then the junior doctors come out and go, oh my God, oh wow, that consultant's amazing. Oh my God, he's just done the most life-shattering operation in front of me, and I got to watch it, and he explained it, and it was so amazing. And then I'll go and do something proper.
Make it look easy.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And it's like, whatever.
You can do that. I could do that too.
And you're just like, you fracking imbeciles.
No, it's how human beings are. It's just, unfortunately.
Well, we're idiots then.
Yeah.
Because we don't value what's really good and important. We value the wrong things. Coming back to food, rather than value that beautiful pasture-fed, raised beefsteak and cooking it yourself and putting love and labor into it. Do you know what? I'm going to go to McDonald's and go for a drive-thru and eat that instead.
Yeah. But again, I'll call it a normal distribution curve. So it's this problem that if you're a genius and somebody who's an idiot is watching what you're doing, they can't tell. They think you're more stupid than them because you're doing things they don't understand.
What is it? The Cunning-Druger effect?
Yes. It's a big headache.
Do you know, example, to publish the 300 podcasts, do you know what it's taken me? It took me months. I kid you not how long I spent studying how to do the lighting, the audio, the editing, the formats of the podcast, the different styles of podcasts, the research that was involved, then getting everything and putting it together and learning my mistakes, the learning curve. And then I select the guests, I schedule the guests, I do the research, these books, I've read them, and then I do the podcast conversation. I've read about what they're up to, who they are, what they're posting on X and social media. And then I record it, I edit it, and then I publish it. Yeah. I write the stuff for it on the different thumbnails. I write a Substack. And I churn it out. I churn out 3-4 a week, and I make it look easy.
That's your problem.
But it's not easy.
That's not the point. I mean, one of the biggest headaches I had, because when running Pentacle as a virtual business school, I had to build tutors. They weren't employed by me. I had to bring them in and train them, and that was where I learned that mistake. Because as a chap, and he said, but you make it look so easy, and I went, oh, and that was where I learned. So after that, when I got a new tutor, I would go out of my way to say, oh, have you done your 7 repeats of rehearsal? So I would make it look harder just to get their attention. Because without their attention, they thought it was easy. And then they would screw up when they tried to deliver the session or whatever it is, because they hadn't prepared and they hadn't thought about it. And they watched me do it, and they watched me go into a classroom, and within 3 minutes, everyone's laughing. And then within 6 minutes, people are saying, yeah, that works in my business. I've got this. And so they'd watched me do it, and it looked easy. So they thought they could do it. So I would give them tasks to do just so they realized how hard it was. And then they would pay attention, and then they would put the effort in. But I had to learn the hard way. There's no easy way of doing that.
And that Cunning-Druger thing is basically when people have a tiny bit of knowledge or a competency.
Yeah.
They think they know everything, and it's easy. And actually that's peak ignorance at that point.
Yeah.
And then as they start to realize that there's more to it, and their competency is only a fraction of what's needed, or the knowledge is only a fraction, they start to get a bit despondent and go, oh, shit.
I'll never know.
I'm never going to know this. Oh, this is too much for me.
Yeah.
And then as they start and learning more, they go, no, I can master this. I'm enjoying this. I'm learning from this. And then when the person gets pretty much to the top, they're like, I will never know everything, but that's fine. And it's fun. And I know a lot. But there's still more to learn, and there will always be more to learn.
Yeah, I mean, so my job is I educate grown-ups. I don't do kids. So you're dealing with people who are older than you.
Aren't we all kids, though?
No, some people are really dreadful old grown-ups. There's no play there at all. Okay, so
that's sad.
So I get a group of people, and let's say, we're mentioning books, my latest book on change, project management. So let's say I've got a bunch of project managers. These guys have been running projects. Let's say each of them is running £100 million projects. So they're big stuff they're dealing with, okay? Now they're all in the room together, so they're all looking sideways at each other because, I don't want to look stupid here. Exactly.
Everyone wants to size everybody up. Yeah.
So I want them to learn because guess what? Their projects didn't work perfectly last time. Okay. So when you're dealing with adults, you have to get past that it looks easy bit, and you have to also crack the shell. So when I'm designing a program like that for grown-ups, I will start them off with something which makes them happy and laughing. Then I'll warn them that the next thing I'm going to get them to do, they'll probably fail at. It's going to be terrible. I'll say to them, you won't believe me, but it's going to be hilarious because you're going to just make a mess of it. Then I'll give them what we call a disconfirmation. A disconfirmation could be anything. It can be a little, like I did with the 1, 2, 3 with you, 1, 2, 3, and then oh God, And so it disconfirms what you thought about yourself. Why do you need that? Because that opens a crack, and now they're able to start to learn because they can see there's a journey, but they also know I got them there so I can get them out. So they know they can move towards excellence. So when you're teaching grown-ups, you have to design your courses so carefully. People think it's about the content or the stories or the cases. It's about the emotional journey. That is the backbone of the whole thing. If you get the right emotional journey, you can get people who've never done anything to get really good at it. You can get experts to shift their behavior to do something which they never thought they would have done, and they do it well, and so on. So that's quite a common challenge, how to get that balance right. And what was interesting was I was doing it for the participants, but I hadn't noticed that the other tutors were seeing me and looking at me and seeing me do it and making it look easy, which I would never have done for a participant. So it's fascinating anyway, to discover what you don't see about yourself, and then you see it and go, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is, even the nurses would say to me, Ahmed, we love operating with you. It's so relaxed.
Yes.
You're so much fun. And you're so much fun. But they would value me. They would say to me, because they saw this. They would be like, if I ever need an operation, I'm coming to you.
Exactly.
I'm coming to you.
But the thing is
that they respected me. They valued me.
They got it because there's a sort of a challenge and support thing. So they knew that you were doing a great job, but if they didn't bring the instrument out at the right time, you'd look at them funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay. So they got that. Now,
and they had a bit of stress. Because they knew they had to keep up.
They had to do it, but it was also fun.
Yeah.
The worst is where they don't do it and it's horrible and it's not fun. They don't like that because that's the worst. But it's quite common that people don't understand because you look so relaxed that you look at them funny if they don't do their bit. They don't get it. But you're working with nurses and they've been trained. When you're dealing with normal people.
Oh, no, I can give the look. Trust me.
No, but when I'm dealing with normal people, they say, oh, but he was so nice. Doc Malik was so nice. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he started to complain. He said, and you get that a lot, especially these days, because lots of people are told that work should be fun and everyone should be nice and blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And it's all, whatever, it's fairy dust and stuff. And so when you try and get them to perform, they really struggle because it's not something they've come across. I mean, you asked me earlier you said that maybe we'd talk a little bit about the DEI stuff, but it all goes into the same pot of too much support and not enough challenge. If you want to grow, as I always say, if you want to become the world's best weightlifter, the last thing you need when you're training is for people to come and help you to lift it.
Yeah.
And the fashion at the moment is, oh, let's help this person, let's help that person. And so that explains to some extent why most things don't work as well as they should. And as you describe that sort of total decay within the systems and processes of the operating theatre, someone somewhere made the decision, don't ask me why they made that decision, to make life easier, cheaper, faster, better for something. And that's why your whole system is decayed.
I think it's even more sinister than that. So I think, so for example, the NHS is a massive cash cow. So there's no shortage of money. Let me make that very clear, Eddie. There's a lot of money and it gets spent in a way that shouldn't be, very inefficiently. And I'd say there's a lot of fraud. And that's not conspiracy theory. You can just look up NHS fraud and the way the contracts are, funny handshakes, Freemasons, it's all wink, wink, blah, blah, blah. And the money, the budget always has to increase, because if you don't increase your budget and you don't spend everything, then next year you're going to get less of it. So the onus isn't about efficiency and saving money. It's about spending more money and getting into debt and then getting a bigger bailout and spending money on crap that you don't need.
You sound like you want Elon Musk to come in. I know you don't like Elon Musk.
When a guy wears a suit, a Baphomet suit, you need to pay attention. People are telling us things in our face, and we aren't looking at things. We choose to look away.
I think
anyway, going back to the NHS. So the thing is, in the NHS, they want the healthcare workers demoralized, stressed over their heads. Like you said, framing. They're too busy. They're too busy. They're too busy. Too busy. Like stressed out, that they cannot see the bigger picture. They want the patients going through the most painful process. 5-minute consultation, 10-minute consultation. And then, I had a GP say to me in jiu-jitsu, these patients, they come in and, straight away they just start moaning and complaining. I've got 10 minutes. I say, right, what do you want? Do you want moan and complain, or do you want me to hear it? And so they don't like the patients. The patients don't like the doctors. And it's framed perfectly because they're all fighting amongst each other, frazzled. They don't look at the bigger picture. And I think the system has been engineered like this so that no one can ever challenge the status quo. The management firms, the big pharma companies, they keep coming in and making lots of money. And the public-private partnerships keep going ahead. And the consumers and the workers in the system itself are fracked left, right, and center. And they can't see the bigger picture. I think that's the agenda.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, the thing is, people don't normally see the bigger picture because that's not what they focus on. They get distracted by all the little things. But I'll tell you what the big headache is with the comment you made about Elon Musk and his jacket and so on. So one of the things I teach is a very simple technique. It's called here to there. Okay, and you've got a bunch of people. You want to know what the status of a project is. Normally people have like a 4-hour meeting. No. I give them a piece of paper. I say, there's 4 boxes on here. One at the bottom called here, one at the top called there, one on the left called going well, the other one saying not going well. You're not allowed to write any words. Just draw in those pictures to represent how things are.
Yeah.
I don't care what you could draw. A shark, you could draw people smiling. I don't care. But you're gonna have 30 seconds to explain it. So your drawing should convey more than the words you're gonna say. So and then they get a few minutes to draw, maybe 5 minutes, and when it means that they focus on what the real thing is. Okay, they really focus on what's here. Well, what it looks like to me now is a bunch of people just stabbing each other all the time. Okay. What's going well? We're getting the odd patient through. What's not going well? There's a massive waiting list. Well, what's there? And then there's silence because they haven't imagined where they want to get to. And I think the people who are awake, the whole awake community, I think that's their biggest mistake. There is no clear articulation of there. So to succeed, you have to be able to know where you are. And most people are not awake, so they don't even know where they are. Then you need to know what's going well from your point of view. So for me, the removal of censorship, great. The dismantling of woke, great. All those things for me are good. What's not going well? Things at the edge, like Gaza and stuff like that. Okay? But
mRNA cancer vaccines?
Whatever. Yeah, all those things. All those, okay? But what's missing is, instead of focusing on what's not going well, which is what almost all the awake community does, I want to know where we're heading. What's there? Because if we know what's there, then we can set an agenda.
Yeah.
But until you can say what's there, for me, it's quite straightforward because I know how good organizations work.
Yeah.
Okay? So I know that whatever that there is, it's got to be based around individuals. It's got to be based around individuals pulling and serving, asking for what they need and serving. Good structures for individuals are when you put them into small groups like families. That seems to work quite well. Seems to work quite well if you put them into villages and towns. And if the towns each are slightly different, like charter towns, here we like to look after our trees, here we like to, then people move to where they want. And unlike where I live in Beaconsfield, they don't demolish all the houses and build a new set, which are ugly. Because I moved to Beaconsfield because it's beautiful and had trees. Okay, so
you don't like waggy houses? Beaconsfield's full of waggy houses.
It is now. It wasn't when I moved there.
Disgusting.
I know, but that's the whole point. If it was a charter town, they wouldn't let them do that because we'd have agreed that. So for me, the business is quite straightforward.
I've never heard of charter towns before.
Yeah, but this is part of the challenge for the people. So you need that. Now we have abilities also to work beyond physical location. So we need some mechanisms, and we do already, the way which we work together in WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups. So you can coordinate with people across different areas to learn together, like your community you're building on here. You can envisage that. You can envisage the fact that even if you have a national government, just let them sit for 2 weeks a year. You know, once in the summer, once in the winter. How many national decisions are there to be made? How many national decisions? War.
Boom!
You know, war. We're going to build a railway line from top to bottom. I mean, that's about it. There's about 3 decisions each year which are national. There's probably about 10 county decisions where everyone in the county is affected. So let them sit for 3 weeks a year. Everything else should be done at human, local, parish, that level. So we start to envision that. Then you start to envision what we started with, which is the entrepreneurship, where we start to say, well, we'll build from the ground up. So we start to tax things like heavily, things like venture capital, in order to allow people to grow rather than take the shortcuts. We start to become a little bit clever about things like getting rid of income tax. What the hell is that?
Oh, I love it.
It's just nonsense.
This is everything that I would do.
You know, so if you're working at a village level, the people in the village decide they want a pond, decide they want the road done, guess what? They do the road. And if one of the neighbors won't put their hand in their pocket, no one will give them a nice Christmas present. So we all get on. And if they don't like it, they move to the next village. So you work at that level. You don't have this thing where you coerce millions of people to put a big pot of money. Because if I was a criminal, I'd go, oh, well, I could go around 1 million houses, 70 million houses, stealing £1 from each, or I could just wait till the government put it all in one big pot and then I'll come and steal the whole pot.
Bingo.
So it's a very silly idea to centralize money in one position because the security risks are so high. And it's the same with information management and AI and so on. We know all this stuff. So if you start to seriously think about what does there look like, what would people say? What would they feel? What would they be doing in the morning? Who will they speak to? How will they earn a living? Where will the potatoes come from? Will the guy dig the hole? That's where we need to put our energy. But a lot of our energy just goes into, I don't trust Trump. Have you seen what that person's doing? The reality is, at the moment, we've got cover. The American elections has given all of us cover because the censorship is gone. I remember when I asked a very normal question for an academic like me, you know, who can point me towards a peer-reviewed article on ivermectin? And I got banned from Twitter for a week. Can you believe that? You know, so that's gone. All that's gone. So the space is opening up. Things like the USAID, the corruption, the fact that the spies are, we've got space, but we have no vision. And all we do is carpe moan. We need to set the vision. We need to talk about the vision. I know there are people like ARC and so on, but it's all very, very ethereal and it's all global. It's all global.
They're controlled.
I don't know. I don't.
The GATM. No.
I don't know whether they are.
They are. Ursula Edgington has done a great job of looking into them.
Okay.
The funding, it's the same people as the WE.
Okay, it's possible. I agree. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't care. I don't care whether they're controlled or not.
The vision.
I want us to build a vision because that's what motivates people. If you could and I could articulate what life looks like for your kids, for the future, what I'll be doing on Sunday on the 23rd of May 2030, then people go, shit, this is great. And even the people who are asleep, if you can articulate that for them,
Bingo.
They'll go, this is better than what I'm doing at the moment. But we fail to articulate and we spend all our time on that box on what's not going well.
Right. Well, listen, amen to all that. Everything you said, I'm on board. And I've already formulated this in my head. And one of the reasons why I'm so absolutely delighted hearing from you kind of validates that we're on the kind of same track. I'm not crazy to be thinking that. You want to know my vision? 100% what you just said. I'm a localist. You know, I don't want democracy, the tyranny of the minority, the tyranny of the majority. I want local decisions locally. Just like you, I said, the government, the national government should literally, all they care about is defense of the realm. That's it. Get rid of 90% of taxes. Get rid of 90% of legislations. Get rid of 90% of rules. All of this paperwork, bureaucracy, middle management, civil class nonsense. Welfare. I get rid of welfare. Do you know what? Local communities will look after their own.
Yeah.
You know, if someone is hard done by, we'll all chip in and we'll look after them. And you had this in the 1800s, in the 1700s. You'd have hospitals run by the local communities. And we don't need Bill and Gates to fund the latest Imperial College, university grants and blah, blah, blah. The more you centralize, I keep saying exactly what you said.
Yeah.
You need to, the criminals only need to corrupt a few at the top.
Correct.
And it disseminates. And I'll give an example as Big Pharma, okay? So when I was a medical student, Big Pharma reps were the whole business. You would have these young, pretty girls. I'm sorry, I'm not being sexist. There were young, pretty girls. I know because me and my mates all fancied them. They'd all come round and they'd flirt with all the consultants, these old dodgers, like, hello. And then they'd flirt with these young little girls and they would sell them. The girls would be giving them the drugs. They would say, any meeting, we'll take you out for dinner. We'll provide the sandwiches. We'll give you mugs and free tourniquets and pens, flash pens, and you name it. And they would come to every department meeting, and the hospital would be full of these people. And then suddenly became a junior doctor and they disappeared. And I was like, where are the drug reps these days? You never see drug reps. But we had something else come in. We had something called the NICE guidelines, the National Institute for Clinical Excellence.
Yeah.
So now, instead of consultants at a local level, at their own hospital level or community level, making decisions about how best to treat something, now suddenly you had a panel of 3-4 people telling the whole country, all 300,000 doctors, how to conduct themselves and how to practice medicine. So now, instead of Big Pharma sending out literally an army of young, pretty girls, convincing the consultants to do what they're told, the Big Pharma just needed to fund a few people at the top who were now consultants for the pharma people who were being paid to go to conferences and on the lecture circuit. Do you see how the corruption works?
Yeah, I mean, it's even if it's not corrupt, I'll add some more, which will give you another perspective. I mean, because my background, as you know, is I've done strategy, I've taught, I've worked with all these companies. I mean, I probably made them rich. I mean, before I sort of woke up, I've worked with every single pharma company. We've done all sorts of stuff. So going back to the reps, you would have been on the receiving end of some training I was probably doing for people like GSK, which would have been things like for their salespeople, their self-directed teams, how to target you, how to understand which doctors were. So I taught them how to put together a project to do that. And then they came and flirted with you. But NICE was hilarious because I ran the workshop for the pharma companies when NICE was imposed on them. So what's interesting is, because I was working with the CEOs, so they didn't know NICE was coming. So it's this is why what's always interesting about things like conspiracies and coincidences, because I was sitting there, they didn't know. They just went, the government want to do this single purchasing thing. They think it'll save them lots of money. Shit, look at our margins. We're going to be in trouble. So before that, there was competition. And I ran this workshop. There were about 40 people. We ran it somewhere in London. I think it was County Hall or something like that. We'd spent 2 days just thinking through, what do we do? Because basically, the government's trying to put us out of business. So it wasn't, my view is it wasn't from the farmer side. It was something which came through from government. Corruption, who knows? So we sat there and I gave them scenarios. Well, what should we do? And what came out of that was that the whole NICE idea was a really silly idea, because it would end up costing the country more money. Why? Because if you're producing oncology drugs, anesthetics, I don't know what else, lots of different drugs, you'll be topping some and bottoming others. But even where you're in the small minority, you have an impact on the pricing and everyone else, because they have to send their reps out as well. But if you just withdraw from every area where you're not top, you don't have to pay for the minority things. Plus, now you create what's known as a monoscopy. But it's basically, you got 2 drugs you can choose for your oncology, or 1. You can set your own price now. And what happened effectively was all the pharma companies just withdrew from their minority places, and that's why the drug bill went up.
Wow.
The entire idea was a stupid, I don't know where it came from. It was the world's most stupid idea, because it's so obvious. And again, strategy. That's why I say you can't get to the end point, because everything's changing all the time. Everyone's running. there's no side.
Can I just
There's no
say, I want to make it clear. I don't think everything is a conspiracy. I think there are some bad people out there who are trying to manipulate, shape all the time.
8%.
But I think a lot of it is all systems, like government. Government is a beast. It's a blob. It's a system that's self-feeding, and the budget and the departments. It's an entity of its own that isn't a person, but is alive nonetheless, and is feeding and engorging and wanting to to breed and multiply and grow. It's kind of crazy, but it is. And this is why I'm not a fan of centralization, because everything will inevitably lead to this concentration of power, which is corruptible and is corruptible and is subsumed and taken over by bad people eventually. No matter what.
I mean, so the stats are there's like 8% psychopaths, and most of them get beaten up. So there's only a few who make it to become CEO, but apart from that. But the whole thing is...
But systems can be psychopathic.
Well, the systems, well, what happens, my very humble opinion, you have snow and you have avalanches. You look at a flake of snow, you'd never believe it could kill you. But you put them all together and you get what's known as an emergent effect. Okay, so by bringing things together, you get this emergent effect. And that's what happens when you bring processes together and systems. You put them into this government thing and you get this emergent effect. And one of the emergent effects, for example, is that the government has to continue proving its value.
Yes.
So they have to make stuff up. And you haven't chosen the people who are going to come up with the best ideas, so they make stuff up. So that's one of the things which happens. They then also don't want dissent, so they end up, another emergent effect, they try to control everything. We know, and it's been done, this is a semi-scientific experiment. Whenever a government tries to plan an economy, people die. It's been done in China, in Cambodia, in all over the world. We know, if the government tries to plan everything, people starve and die.
Well,
so
Ukraine,
it's not magical.
The Holodomor in Ukraine.
It's absolutely.
The famine in China.
It's not surprising.
Cambodia,
so we know that.
Was it the killing fields of Cambodia?
Correct.
I mean,
it's an emergent effect.
100 to 150 million people have died because of the Soviet practices of controlled agriculture and production.
So we know that works. So, but it doesn't stop the emergent effect. And so I think sometimes the governments are even surprised by how awful they are to their people, because the very nature of putting all these processes and all these people who are in these jobs. Sometimes the example I give is when you're starting your new business, which you guys are going to be doing, you hire somebody to help you set up payroll when you actually need staff. Okay, you hire that person. You hire them for the project. Don't let them become your HR manager, because once they finish the project, they have nothing to do. But now they're on the payroll. They're in the system. So they'll just make stuff up. They'll do surveys to see how happy people are. They'll do DEI training. They'll just make stuff up, which has nothing to do with serving your customers. It's the same with government. There are government departments which have long passed their sell-by date, but none of them have a sell-by date. So they continue.
So I'll give an exactly, and it's the same in the NHS, and it's the same. Take for example, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. So to get rid of government inefficiency, you're going to create another government division.
It has to have a sell-by date.
But do you see what I mean? It's just so ridiculous.
It has to have a sell-by date.
It has to have an expiration date. Like we've got 6 months to clear this out, and then we're done.
I think DOGE does have an expiration date. I think Elon claims that they have to have it done before they have a 400-year celebration thing or something. They have to have done it before then.
But the NHS, I'm telling you, that'd be great. The NHS is no different. The number of people who frontline are not doing any work, and they justify themselves. I'll give an example. So when I was head of the department, I was trying to make things better, and I became head of the department to make things better because I couldn't see why everything was so inefficient. I'm a machine of efficiency. That's like the Belpin profile. I see a problem and I just come up with a solution. I want to do it. I want efficiency. That's what drives me. And inefficiency drives me crazy. And when I was telling the people, look, the managers, look, this is what we need to do and this is how we can save money and blah, blah, blah. They'd be like, oh, well, we need to do another meeting and put together a flow chart. And I'd be like, why do we need to do it? I've just done the presentation. Just take my slides. No, but we need to audit it and then counter check it. And we'll come back with a proposal. And we need an agenda. And we needed this and that. It was nonsensical. And then I suddenly realized these people's jobs were to come up with just stuff
Yeah.
It wasn't to actually enact change.
Yeah.
It was an never-ending revolution. They never had a destination. They just had to give the appearance that they were busy, that they were juggling things so that they could justify their salaries.
Yeah.
But the moment you actually created something and they're efficient and saved money, well, their whole raison d'etre disappears.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a boss, and one of his favorite sayings was, doing the job right once gets the job done. Doing the job badly 47,000 times is job security. Not a joke. But
it's like the patient cured is a customer lost.
Yeah.
No, I'm being serious. So isn't it better, rather than curing the patient, just tell them to take a tablet, keep them chronically ill, mask their symptoms? Because the moment you cure them, well, how is Big Pharma going to make its money anymore?
Yeah, I mean, that is evil. And it probably does happen. I'm sure
it does.
Because 8% psychopaths. But far more important,
does happen.
There's a bit you've missed.
What?
Most people don't know how to get things done. They've never learned. They don't teach you at school how to plan.
Why do you think my book's Doc Malik's Simple Guide to Good Health? That's what I'm writing.
Exactly. They don't teach you how to plan. So what I discovered was, and I learned this, I have a method called sticky steps, okay? Basically, it'll let you plan anything in about 10, 15 minutes and then go and do it. So in the same way as I showed you about the gap leap and the helps here to the sticky steps works like this. Pretend you've done it, okay? How do you feel? Great. Okay. Now you're going to phrase. And I always use stickies. Why? Because if you think on your own, your brain is too lazy, you get lost. So I get people to write on stickies in sentences. And also it means you can collaborate because other people can see your thinking and correct you. Okay. So you have a piece of paper and you write on the piece of paper, in order to have. And then your sticky starts with a verb. In order to have completely reorganized the surgery so that it works brilliantly. Okay. Then the next line says, we must, and must is in big letters, we must have. And then you have to come up with half a dozen things we must do in order to organize. We must have got the patient thing organized so that the scrubbers know where to be. List the things. So suddenly you've gone from, I have no idea what to do, to things which still look big. And then you just repeat the process. In order to get the scrubbers to the right place at the right time, we must have given them somewhere to sit. And then those become very tasky. So you can just tell people what to do. So in about 15 minutes, you could take anything like, how are we going to rebuild the government? We could make a plan, you and I, this afternoon, and we'd have all the steps. It's just we have to persuade another 70 million people to join us, but we'd have another plan. How do we get 70 million British people to join us and make sure the future is more like Bob Moran's good reset than what's coming our way? So with sticky steps, you can do it. People don't know how to plan. And so they can't move. So they just go through rituals. We'll do a slideshow. We'll do a flow meet. Because they don't know how to plan. So they're just doing rituals. And that's what you see. So it's not their fault entirely. It's just a lack of knowledge. And as an educator, I mean, I know lack of knowledge because that's why I exist. Because I go in and I discover people just don't know stuff. And then I try and fill the holes.
Do you not find, man, that's a beautiful description. I just find like we're in 2025. My feeling, I'm hitting 50 this summer. Every year that goes by, every year that goes by, we're just losing knowledge as a society and a culture.
Yeah, but we will fix that. We'll fix that. Don't worry about these things. We need it there. Once you get there and people are excited, these things are easy to fix. I just put in front of you 2 stories. We'll see how they work out. But Argentina with Malik seems not to be cheating. I've tried to read and make sure he's not just conning us. Well, less than 18 months. Balance the books, reduce the price of property, doubled salary. Less than 18 months, just by stopping things. You know? Bukele in El Salvador, 2 years, 3 years, caught all the criminals, locked up the ones who are really bad, trained the others to become carpenters and build brick workers. You know, the prison's empty, he's offering it to the Trump administration for that. You know, so these things can go very fast when you decide to fix them. So I don't despair at all. That's why I just go, we need to know where we're heading. And even if we don't all agree, it doesn't matter. We treat it as a quest. We've got the goal. We'll all do different things to get there, like King Arthur and his knights. And so then we aim towards getting there. And lots of people do lots of different things. But we have an idea of where the goal is. And we then work. And even if we have different goals, it doesn't matter because we can talk to each other. But without that goal, without that, where are we going? What's Bob Moran's good reset? everyone just faffles around pointing at what's not what, and it's a total waste of energy.
No, I agree. I always say to people that if I was Prime Minister, I could get 90% of the problems fixed by 12 o'clock.
Yeah, maybe 95%.
95%. No, seriously.
No, I'm not joking either.
I've thought it through a lot. Exactly what department needs to be cut and slashed and what regulations need to be broken down.
Yeah,
and,
it's not hard.
So much. It's not hard.
It's not hard.
Exactly. When people say it's really hard.
It's not hard.
complicated.
It's not.
No, it's not. Stop. All right, listen, I need to ask you a question. Do you play a musical instrument?
No, I don't. Why
Why are your thumbnails so long?
Oh, I like clicking them and messing around with them, basically. I know everyone thinks I play the guitar, but I just always keep. So when I was younger, I used to chew my fingernails, and I couldn't stop. So it's just a reminder that you can control stuff.
You're so funny. All right,
I'm
fine.
funny.
Right, listen, look, we've hit 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Did you enjoy that?
No, it's terrible, man. It's absolutely terrible, Ahmed. I'm never. Did you enjoy it? More importantly,
You know what? It was just as good as I thought it would be.
good.
I think you need to come back.
I knew you were going to say something like that. But, yes, Ali Ahmed, I will come back.
You don't think
2017.
you don't think you got more stuff to get off
I've
your
got
chest?
Tons of stuff. I mean, I've got. Well, as I explained, I mean, my background means I can go in any direction. I mean, we started about pharma, and I was actually in the meetings talking about NICE, you know. And it's the same in every single industry. I mean, I worked in the defense industry, and so I've got background. My family were the United Nations, so I can tell you how those places work and what it means and how it all comes together. You know, all the injectables we've been given these years. I can tell you how the mechanisms for the different. So I'm always happy to tell people. I'm like a jukebox.
What do you mean, injectables mechanism? Like, as in like the process of Gavi and
when people ask
and-
me things like, well, I can talk about a bit as well, but when people ask me things like, why do people get myocarditis? I can explain it to them. I can explain what a nanolipid particle is, because I know what a lipid is. I know how it's done. I know how they make the engineering background. I know how they make little droplets. I know how they put the stuff inside. I understand how important it is when you're jabbing somebody and you want to stay in a muscle. You have to pull the little syringe before you plunge it in to make sure there's no blood. Otherwise, if you plunge it in, it goes straight into the bloodstream. And if it goes in the bloodstream, it literally is hydrophobic surface, looking for other hydrophobic surfaces. So any membrane it finds, it'll stick to, which is your heart and your gametes and stuff. So it wraps around, and then it delivers its payload of spike protein inducing mRNA, and bang, what do you expect? You know, so I can explain all those things because I did enjoy it.
But the injection into the arm, I don't think there's not very many that go straight into the blood vessel.
Oh yeah, if you get it wrong. So if you're doing it,
I know.
Exactly.
But when it goes into the muscle, it still ends up in the bloodstream anyway.
Yeah, but it should be a slower release as opposed to a whoosh. And you know what they did? They just got volunteers. They just took anyone off the street and went, I mean, you go to medical school, as you have done, they say, this is how you do an injection. And then they watch you and they make sure it's in the right place. And then they just go, well, have you got anyone who's not doing anything this afternoon? How'd you like to jab 1,000 people? You can't make up how mad the whole process was.
It was very mad. Very mad. Okay, fine. Listen,
Pleasure.
more importantly, did you enjoy coming today?
I did.
You did?
I did. Even though I say so against my better judgment.
Why are you saying that? Why?
Because you already said, will I come back again? I did enjoy it. Yeah. It's
Good.
It's interesting. And I hope I covered stuff and gave people some stuff to take away and do. But if they can just remember the different steps of setting up, if we start again and build some nice, decent, scaled family businesses, it'll be wonderful.
It will
It's
be.
going to be great.
Right. Do you listen to my podcast?
I do.
What's the last question?
You can ask me if there's anything I should be thinking about otherwise.
No.
No?
My last question.
I don't know what your last question is.
You don't stay to the end?
No, because I do business.
Oh my God.
I listen to the bits. I tell you how I do on speed listen. Sorry about that, my friend. I do on speed listen. So I put it on double time, okay, and I listen to the meaty bit, and then that's enough. So before, if I was you, if I was listening to me, I would have known when you were about to cut us off and I'd have cut and gone and done something else.
Oh, that's
I
so
never
sad.
listened to the end.
You
I
missed
do
it.
that with everyone.
You missed the best bits.
What's the best bit?
The last question.
Oh, it's too bad.
You,
No, but I do that with everyone. That's how otherwise, how the hell? Come on. You got 2-hour podcast.
Right. So for your information, when I'm doing my research, I get asked by people as well, oh, check this video. I listen at 1.75
There you go.
or 2. So if it's someone like Brett Weinstein speaking,
2.5.
it's like, God, ramp it up to 10. And it's funny, like when I do listen to it, it's like,
He gets it.
and I'm used to it. But my wife is like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm
No,
like,
it's fine.
and I'm like, I'm just sorry. I'm just because I cannot listen at one speed. And someone like Brett Weinstein, oh, you must be kidding. I don't have time to do that. But so like, quick.
Do you listen to his last comment, or do you stop when you think you got the meat?
I think I kind of listen to all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. So anyway, one of the things I do for my wonderful supporters who stay to the bitter end is I also leave Easter eggs.
Oh.
So for example, at the end, once the outro music has gone, sometimes I leave a little bit of bonus extra content
Oh, okay.
where they get little snippets of extra chat, you know.
Okay.
I probably won't be in this one. It's, for example, if a guest comes and I pick them up at the train station, I will record a snippet as we drive back to the train station.
Very nice.
And it's quite nice because there's a little chat. It's all very informal. And then I put that at the back end and people love that. Or that my kids come on sometimes and have a little wee chat and people love that.
Okay.
Actually, I should get them back on. It's been a while. And so sometimes, you know, I like to put a little bit at the end. Anyway, the last question is some of the most profound things that people say, which is what's beautiful. So I say to you, you know, Eddie, next week or in 50 years' time, whatever, you're dying and you're on your deathbed and you're surrounded by your loved ones, your children, your grandchildren. Now, before you die and meet your maker, what words of wisdom or advice are you going to give them or reinforce to them? Having, you know, lived that long, beautiful life of yours, what are you going to tell your kids before you pass on and meet your maker?
Well, if I got 50 years, I'd be
No.
I
I know. I'm saying you're on your deathbed. It could be next week.
That's just true. Yeah. I think the only thing people have to understand, which I've learned, is that the most important thing are the people you love. That's it. And if you want your world to work, you can't have fear. You mustn't have fear. If you have fear, everything stops. Everything breaks. And one of the ways to make sure that you're in balance is to look after your body, do things, go out into nature, spend time walking out. Because whenever you go there, the rest of the world evaporates. It's just you and whoever you're with and the trees and things which have been here forever. So if they do that, I think that's the secret, because the rest of it will come, it'll go. And I'll leave them with a final thought, which is my view on everlasting life, which is it's behind you, not ahead of you. So you've had a wonderful ride. So don't complain about anything.
You know when you said the everlasting ride is behind life.
It's behind you.
What do you mean by that?
It's taken billions of years for evolution to create one Doc Malik. You get free reign on the planet as a autonomous sovereign being for 0 to 110 years. It took billions of years behind you to get here. And this is your chance. You're living it. There's nothing afterwards.
You honestly think there's nothing afterwards?
I think everything is behind us. I think all the everlasting life people talk about has already happened to get you here. You've always been alive. The sperm and egg which made you were alive. Your parents were alive. Their sperm and egg were alive. You've been alive for billions of years.
Do you know, my daughter said something like this a few years ago. She said, Mum, I've lived a very long time.
Yes, we're all the same age.
And she said, and my wife was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, Mama, I was an egg inside of you.
Perfect.
And you were an egg inside of your mama. And I was an egg inside of you when you were in your mama. And then you were an egg in your mama. And the mama's mama was in another mama. And so I've lived forever.
Yes, she has.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
she came up with that.
She's genius.
She's a genius.
Genius.
She really is.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And but I don't think this is the end either. I think time isn't what we think it is either.
It's possible.
And I think when we die, it's not the end. The soul's journey is eternal.
It's possible. I don't mind because I've been alive for billions of years. So why would I care? I mean, I'm quite happy. It's so wonderful to have been alive this long and then get this expression.
So you're not a Christian anymore? You don't believe, like, you know, you're going to go to heaven, hell, meet your...
I believe in God. I don't think Christianity is particularly about heaven and hell.
I mean, you know, but the whole constructs of what to expect after you die, that's
I believe in God.
Yeah, me too.
It's a different thing. Christianity is a bit weird.
Why'd you say that?
It's very weird. It's very weird because it has a bureaucracy, which market it.
So Christians would say that Christianity isn't the bureaucracy and the Vatican and the Catholic Church. It is Christ's teachings. It's funny, I had a guest on. Can I tell you something that was really funny?
So weird.
I had I know, I agree. I think all the Abrahamic religions are a complete psyop.
All of them. I think all religions are psyop.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I remember I went to South Korea. South Korea?
You know what? Sorry, you know what I hate though? The idea of the chosen people.
Yeah.
Like as if God would be like, yeah, you're my chosen people.
Well, it depends on who's God.
Yeah.
There you go. If I had a God, he'd choose me as well. So I went to South Korea and they explained that the South Koreans, once upon a time, they're all Buddhists now. They used to be Shinto, like Japanese. And they had a king and he was a crap king. And everyone complained about what crap king he was and moaned about how poor they were and how everyone else was getting on well. And then he discovered Buddhism, where you come back, depending on, you come back as an insect if you were bad. Is that the right one?
I don't know.
I don't do religions. Okay. So anyway, so then he got rid of the local religion and brought in this other religion.
Oh, wow.
Because then if you complained, they said, oh, look at me, I'm still a peasant. You're a useless king. He said, well, that's because you were bad in the previous life. So religions, I think, are all suspect, aren't they? So
it's a complete tool, isn't it? The majority of South Koreans have no religion. Buddhism and Christianity are dominant confessions.
Who
yeah.
It'll be then.
Oh, it's really funny. I had a guest on my show, and I said to him, you know, what would you tell your children? He went, just, you know, be a Catholic.
Cool.
And that was it. I was like, you know, no. The whole point of this question is a chance for you to talk, to give your views, your opinions. You know, I was like, you know, anything more than that? Yeah. Well, it's all there. Everything's there. Just read the Bible, be a Catholic, and it's all there. Everything you need to know. Just, you know, be a Catholic. And I was like, oh, dude. In my head, I was like, you don't get it. No, talk to people about, you know, what it means. Why? And it wasn't. It was just like, no, be a Catholic. And I was like, oh, Lord. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Religion, I think, is very much a tool to control the masses, keep them led by guilt and shame and control.
Korea, it was obviously a good strategy because people stopped complaining. So that worked for that king. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's I think when you have a bureaucracy and there's marketing around anything, it's always a bit dodgy, isn't it?
It's
Because
like
it's a corporation now.
like all the cancer research companies.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
I've not given money to any charities since the lockdown stuff
Why?
because none of them stood up for the people they were supposed to be looking after.
And they're all bureaucracies.
They're all bureaucracies. I've worked with lots of charities. When I was at Ashridge, we used to have a charity thing where we'd get the students in, we'd make them a video. I mean, I've worked.
Yeah, but there's like
It's a factory.
But just like businesses, there's small level charities that are doing a lot of good and have very little overheads. And then you've got these massive charities who've got plush offices in central London with massive salaries and massive pensions, massive marketing budgets, and the end delivery, like how much money is actually going to the cause.
Well, I'm not even worried about that. I just watched them not stand up. I watched the children's charities not stand up for kids who couldn't go to school. I watched the cancer charities not stand up for people who weren't being treated. I just watched the whole lot and went, yeah, you're just a bunch of shysters. I've not given a penny in 4 years. I wouldn't go near them with a barge pole. I can't see the point. The lockdown stuff was fantastic because so many people outed themselves. And if you're paying attention, then your life gets easier.
Yeah.
You know,
It's an ultimate litmus test, isn't it?
it was. I mean, talking about the church outed itself, you know, suddenly became a marketing tool. Whoa, where did that come from? Jesus would have had the job. Really? What the hell's that?
Jesus would have prayed in front of the vaccine, holy altar of the vaccine.
And Jesus would have let everyone go to church and know that God would look after them.
Yeah, that's what Jesus actually would have done.
You know, so, whoa, we're closing the churches. Okay. Yeah. So,
Do you think Jesus had gloves and hand sanitizer when he washed the leper's feet?
well, the things
Do you think he wore a face mask?
I don't know. The thing is, he was anti-Roman. So if he would have pissed off the Romans, he'd probably have done it.
Crazy. All right, my
Brilliant.
friend. Should we wrap up?
Yeah, let's wrap up. Thank you very much for inviting me. I hope I made enough trouble.
Reasonable. All right. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. I, Ahmed Malik, am a private civilian protected by the Geneva Convention. My Substack, social media posts, and podcasts are my personal experiences, observations, and opinions. This information is for educational purposes only. Although I am a doctor, I am not your doctor, and I am not providing medical or legal advice to you or to the wider public. I am not licensed or registered with the GMC or any other licensing board. The responsibility for the interpretation, due diligence, and use of the information from my Substack and my podcast lies with you, the viewer and or listener. Please do your research and use your discernment. It is not my intention to harass, intimidate, offend, defame, conspire, blackmail, coerce, or cause anxiety, alarm, or distress to any man or woman, and the information presented here is done so with peaceful and honourable intentions. Enjoy, folks.